All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Global League Podcast. I'm your host, William, and with me today I have Ryan.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about Worlds today. We're going to talk about play-ins, probably not individual games, but just the overall result of the insanity that was play-ins this year. And then we're going to go to our predictions from play-ins, and then groups, our Pickems, and our predictions for the first three games for each team in the first set of the round robin. And then we'll do the podcast next week on Wednesday. Ryan will not be here, unfortunately, but it's the only day it's a day break in between the two round robins, so we'll do the podcast then to predict the next three games for all of the teams, and that's when we get the spiciest stuff. Biggest Ryan fan right here. Raptor. Oh, I got a teaser for you too later on. But anyway, let's talk about the play-ins. A lot spicier than I thought they were going to be. And I want to give props to all of my play-in teams. Every single one of them, even one of them towards the very end, at least showed up and they played hard. And I absolutely love to see that from the wild cards. Basically, overall, I went 14-10. Ryan, you went 13-11. Suck it.
Feels bad.
I did not actually know your prediction. Did you get all of... I assumed your tiebreakers were PSG over UOL, which you said on with me. Then I'm assuming you said LGD over V3. But then did you pick Matt over Ents and TL over Legacy, I'm assuming?
What do you mean Matt over Supermassive, not Ints?
No, Matt over Ents in the tiebreaker initially to get eliminated.
Oh, the initial tiebreaker? Yeah. I had beating over them.
That's what I assumed. And then did you have Matt over Supermassive as the most important one? Because I'm assuming you had LGD over Rainbow Seven.
I actually did not. I thought that Mad would make it to the Unicorns of Love and the Unicorns would knock them out. Okay. I did still have Unicorns making it to group stage, but I did not expect Mad to lose the first best.
Yes, that was a full expectation from me as well, especially with the way they were playing. Did you have LGD winning both their series?
Yes. I actually had them winning 3-0 both times.
Yep. I gave LGD a 3-1 over Rainbow Seven, thinking Jose Diodo would be able to pull one game out, and I feel like Game 3 he tried his best and should have got a win for that Lee Sin play, but unfortunately he did not. Anyway,
no.
It was good. So I went total 18-10. You went 16-12, which is still really good, especially since you don't watch the wild cards or you only paid attention slightly. It went. The wild cards did not go how we would have expected it to. The group results were Team Liquid took first in Group A, followed by Legacy, which I know. Supermassive, Mad Lions, and Ents, with Mad Lions and Ents having to play a tiebreaker to see who got eliminated, while Team Liquid and Legacy had to play a tiebreaker for first. Legacy was literally one game away from being first place in their group, which is awesome.
It would have literally been Oceania's first time going into the main group stage at Worlds.
And its first time even getting close to it, outside of the Mammoth last year was really close, but they lost on a tiebreaker difference. But they didn't even play a best of 5 in that scenario, I don't believe. And this was so close to make it. Unfortunately, by losing, because Group B went PSG Talon 3-1, which did not really expect. That was an option for me because everyone always forgot when they kept saying these are substitutes. They were Kongyu and Uniboy, the MVP and the runner-up MVP for PCS. They weren't random substitutes on the bench. D was actually a coach. Is a coach for Maki Esports that had to come in. So props to him for being there as well. But it turned out that their synergy did not matter necessarily, and they just needed the synergy between Kongyu and Uniboy, and they were going to carry everything anyway. Which was
it was literally it basically just came down to top side difference every game. But D actually handled them pretty well.
Yeah, it was really good for being a coach
in the bottom lane.
That'd be I know he was a professional player, so was Jack technically. That'd be funny if Jack came in to substitute for Team Liquid. It's kind of weird.
Taking over for Broxa in the jungle.
Yeah. So it's some weird.
Brings out the Udyr.
Or it's actually more like if Jack came to substitute for Doublelift on TSM because Doublelift couldn't play because it's a different team that's in the tournament for them. So it's quite a weird scenario.
No, he'd have to substitute for Spica, so at least it would make sense. Because
Okay,
Jet is a jungler.
True. Sorry, I was.
It'd be more like if Kane came in for Doublelift or something.
Yes.
Or Cutie Pie.
But yeah, Group B went PSG Talon first with the tiebreaker over Unicorns of Love. Unicorns of Love second. Oh man, they looked. I am so glad we hyped them up. I was worried because of the amount of hyping up we've been doing for months on this team. Like we've been doing it for like 4, 5, 6 weeks before Worlds about how watch out for this Unicorns of Love team, and they not only did they win almost all their games, they flat out styled on people a lot. They played that super cocky attitude that I love. They had tons of picks. The meta does not matter to them, and it just looked so good.
Gadget in the bottom lane, bringing out like every other mage.
Yep, Orianna, Swain. Dude, they hovered the Yuumi with the Swain, and I about lost. I was like, oh my god.
Ziggs bot too.
Yep, Ziggs as well. Which is something we said that we wanted to see from teams because Ziggs kind of wins most ADC matchups right now.
I will say the interesting part about that is we've seen it so many times where they would early pick a mage like the Orianna, and then they would just leave last pick and then secretly leave it for no man's.
Yep.
That's why they'd end up setting up like perfect picks for like Kassadin.
Yep, it was very hidden flex, which is super nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how much can they get away with that now that people have seen them do it plenty of times? Don't know. And plus, you're going to have higher level of competition in the main groups, but that's kudos to them. That's really good game planning and really good flexibility from the players.
Mm-hmm. Rainbow Seven went 2-2, the most unconventional 2-2, while losing to V3 and PSG right away, and then beating LGD and Unicorns of Love to keep their group hopes alive, and not only alive, to get third, because LGD, like Mad Lions, finished 1-3 in the group stage and just looked abysmal.
Hey, Will, who could have possibly expected Rainbow Seven to make the best of 5 series?
Yeah,
in their group.
Hey, I expected them to make the best of 5 series. I just expected them to do it at 1-3. Like I expected them to beat V3, and V3 did go 1-3 with a win against who did they beat? It was Rainbow Seven. Yeah, it was Rainbow Seven. They started out 1-0, and then they lost all their games, and then they had one of the worst drafts of all time in their tiebreaker game against LGD I've ever seen. Oh, it was awful. But we won't talk individual games. But that was a bad draft. Only to be followed up by Mad's 4 auto attackers into Malphite again.
I will say you talk about the final teams to actually come out of the group stage and play-ins. Interesting to note, only one Group A team actually made it to group stage at Worlds. It was the team that came in first.
Interesting. Yeah. Oh yeah, because it's PSG, Unicorns of Love, and LGD. That is interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Team Liquid, the only team to make it out of Group A, and it's only because they finished first. Yeah, so they got out automatically.
And talking about individual teams a little bit here, like we talked about Unicorns of Love looking amazing. Team Liquid looked like the best team in groups, which I thought they were going to beat Mad Lions. I did predict them to beat Mad Lions. I thought it was personally a little bit of bias, and just I had some points of the experience that they brought compared to Mad Lions rookies, and maybe if Mad Lions kept making mistakes in the jungle, like Shadow doing that, like Broxo would be okay and stuff like that.
And they did.
They did.
And he did.
They did, exactly. It worked. It just worked out better than I expected, and Mad Lions really didn't fix anything from when we saw them struggling at the end of the year and playoffs. It got worse somehow through boot camp. And Shadow and Arome, oh my god, they had one of the worst. They had Team Liquid looked like one of the best teams, and I'll talk about something that Raptor sent me that I hate him for because it got my hope up. But Mad Lion looked like the worst team in play-ins. Like, even Ents beat Team Liquid and like stuff like that. And even Mad Lions' one win against INTZ didn't look great at the beginning. Like they could have easily gone.
It was the very first. Yeah, it was the very first game of the World's play-in stage, and and that's why I was very kind of just well, maybe Mad just kind of came off cold.
Yeah, first game.
The first game, nerves, jitters, whatever you want to call it. And then this very same day, the last game of the first day, they played against Team Liquid, And it was like, no, here's more of the mistakes. This is apparently just the level that this team is at.
And then even
which is to say garbage.
I said no like individual games, but that tiebreaker against INTZ, they should have lost that. Like they really,
just like they should have lost the first time versus INTZ.
If INTZ wouldn't have, or if Tay wouldn't have gotten a massive lead and just like I want to credit the person who said it, but they said that Tay channeling the Shy in the same game was the best way to explain how Tay played in that game.
He was both the Shy and the Shy.
He had like a 2.5 item lead, a 3 level lead at one time against Wukong, and then entered 4 times in a row, straight into team fights, 4 times, just completely screwing his team over, and then got Mad Lions back into the game.
I mean, let's not even talk about the first game where they completely failed a gank, and he had them dead to rights. All he had to do was click the second cast of his ultimate for to execute him. He would have gotten first blood, would have got to a massive lead, ended up accidentally clicking his teleport, so he just stuck in place, and and freaking Shadow just got away with it.
Yeah, it was
literally getting away with murder.
But yeah, Carzzy, I thought Humanoid looked good. I thought Carzzy, when he wasn't on Senator duty, looked great. I loved how Carzzy played this game. Kaiser really disappointed me, even though he didn't, like, in the sense that I had a lot higher expectations for him. I was even arguing that he was in my 25 to 30 range easily and one of the best supports. So he really was a disappointment, but not as bad as a Romain Shadow. That was some of the worst play.
Freaking Team Liquid, like the biggest issues that we had with them, the biggest question mark was their top lane and their jungle, and it's literally like they just stole the talent from Mad Lions top and jungle. Like talk about Shadow, who was like a borderline MVP candidate, considered to be one of the best junglers in Europe at one point, kind of slowly fell off the map towards the end of the summer split. And then Arome, who was like, I would never say he was a superstar player, but at times he was vastly improved from how he was in spring. Yes. He was actually one of the more consistent and solid players on Mad Lions. And now, all of a sudden, Impact decided, okay, I can play well. So, I'm just going to do that. And then Broxah actually decided to exist.
Yeah, but it wasn't just like Impact. Arome was getting smashed. And now, granted, I fully am in the camp that the wildcard teams all stepped up insanely compared to what they have been in previous years. This is the best the wildcards have ever been, which shocked me, to be honest. I thought last year was the best they've ever been. I thought Supermassive was going to be I was a little shaky on them. I liked them, but I was a little shaky because they were the 3rd seed. And, we've seen them before. Rainbow Seven, also same scenario of where I was like, wow, they've really upset All Knights and Isurus, 2 teams that were much better than them in the regular season. Like, that's not great for Worlds. Legacy, everyone's left Oceania, so like they're just kind of the leftovers. And V3 is in Japan, and they're just trying their best. Like, they're good, but they're in Japan. They're in a weak region.
Yeah.
So they're
ironically the biggest underdogs of all the wildcard teams, who are all underdogs.
Yes, exactly. So I wasn't going in. I wanted it to believe that it'd be good, but this wasn't like the best of the best teams in the wildcard, except for like Unicorns of Love and Legacy was the best, but that was the region as a whole downgraded as well. But like they stepped up a lot, which makes me super excited. If these are the 3rd and 4th seeds from the regular season from the wildcard regions, these aren't necessarily the best teams. How good are the wildcard regions getting? Like Istanbul Wildcats, Galacticos, if they don't choke in the playoffs, All Knights, if they don't choke in the finals every time. like these teams that can step up, wildcards could be legitimately making a big impact.
For the longest time, it was always just a consideration of basically, here's Turkey, and here's the CIS. Usually, those are the teams that are like the contenders. Those are the ones that have made group stage out on the main stage of Worlds. Those are the ones who played in the group stage of MSI, the Mid-Season Invitational. And occasionally, like in the old days, like you would see like a team like INTZ in the group stage, but you almost never see them anymore. Yeah. And now it's become to the point where it's like the running joke is always, for a while, it was the LMS with Taiwan, and now the PCS, and now North America. They were always considered like the quote unquote wild cards, the actual wild cards, but they're always a step ahead of everyone else. And ironically, North America was the one that played by far the best.
And PCS was second.
Exactly. I'll say huge props to them because I've been slagging them, and it's on record. I've been slagging the PCS. I've been slagging the Taiwanese teams. I've been saying how much of a joke they've
I'm
been,
telling you, you were
and
just
everyone,
salty because you got
yeah,
eliminated.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's like, it's literally like we're talking about even like historically, the past couple of
Yes.
years
Oh,
in
they've
the
been
World
terrible.
Championship,
They've been
they're
terrible.
absolutely terrible, and they were considered a world stage. They had 3 seeds.
I,
At one point,
I
their
literally
first seed was a pool 1 team.
we had an LMS podcast that when we used to do all the podcasts individually, that was a major region podcast for us that we moved to the
Yep.
wild cards because it just wasn't worth the time. It really
Yep.
wasn't. And
And then yeah, and we're still talking about like imagine. And here's the thing: imagine if we had teams like from Vietnam in this group
oh, I
stage.
know. Imagine it would be
Imagine if we
Gigabyte
had,
Marines.
yeah,
Gigabyte Marines would have been here, and it would have been Gigabyte Marines
Mhm.
and Gen G, and those two teams coming in here. Matt and LGD already struggled. Like those are
yeah.
two teams that are above pretty much every other team in this.
Like, could you imagine,
wild
like we're talking group stage LGD who went 1-3.
card.
They're on the verge of being eliminated outright. Like it was literally just because one team in the group was worse than them by 1 game, and because of that, they didn't work. It just eliminated from Worlds, which would have been a huge embarrassment. They're talking about the Chinese team, the first year that China has had a 4th representative go out of the 17 teams that they have.
Mm-hmm.
They have a 4th representative go, and the Worlds. This is like the 10th year of League of Legends. This is the Season 10 World Championship, and it's being held in Shanghai, China. And then your 4th seed team is eliminated before the main stage has even begun. This is the qualifier for wildcard regions for minor regions that don't have the infrastructure for this. And the Chinese team was almost eliminated.
It was really bad. It was. I mean, them and Mad Lions looked like the two worst team. They looked at the level of V3 and INTZ. I know they beat them both times, but they looked like on an equal level in most of those games. The only one I'll say that looked like not an equal level was LGD versus V3 in the tiebreaker. Again, that draft was terrible. but like their first game where V3 played LGD, they were back and forth. And then INTZ, like I said, should have won both games against Mad Lions. They were essentially tied with the worst of the worst. But that being said, we do have teams that have been eliminated. So with that, that means we have to give them a pass or fail so far from our power rankings. So first up for you, Ryan.
Give you a hint what. give you a big hint of what Mad Lions is.
Yeah, Mad Lions should be obvious what they got. I don't think that's a spoiler to tell people. INTZ, we had them in the F territory, or you had D, but like, so they were in F for have fun for, or they were actually for D for me. But where did you give them a pass or fail for this year's Worlds?
I mean, I'd say I'd give them a pass. They were exactly where I thought they were going to be. Mm-hmm. This is, I mean, even when we talked about predictions for the group stage last week, this is what I predicted for them. I mean, I predicted them to go 0-4.
Yep.
Look at this, and they went 1-3. They beat Team Liquid. Feels bad that they couldn't get the job done against Mad Lions both times. If that's the only disappointment that you have for this team, then, and I was considered to be dead in the water from the outset, Bronzil and everything. Like, it's sad that they just couldn't close against this team. And even if you take away, oh well, it's the Mad Lions, it's EU, then you can kind of excuse it. And it's 1 game better than I gave them, and they beat Team Liquid to do it. They had it in their hands. They failed, but I wasn't expecting them to even get that far anyway. So I give them a pass. It's like a D. I'll give them a D plus.
All right, so they got in with the rounding.
A D plus grade.
They got in with the rounding.
They didn't just fail, but it's nothing to be happy about. You're not going to show that report card to your family, but you didn't fail.
I'm in the same boat because I did have them as a D, which meant that their goal was to that wasn't my picks, but it says my picks, but they're all in order. I haven't done them yet. So if you take a screenshot, it doesn't matter. But INTZ, I had them moving out of this group over Legacy. I thought Legacy was the weaker team in the group. Clearly wrong about that. But they still get a pass, even though they didn't get their expectations because, like you said, I did expect them to go 1-3. They beat Team Liquid and they really threw against Mad Lions, but they were in a position to beat Mad Lions 2 times. And like just being in that position is something I did not expect them to be going in. So it's like you said, a barely pass, but it's still a pass in my book. I think there was some beating a major region in Team Liquid. That's just a good win.
Yeah, I would say to sum it up, INTZ, they're not that good. They're not that good. But the fact that they had 2 different games where they're right on the cusp of beating, not only beating expectations, but far exceeding them and possibly even getting into a position to make groups. That's huge for them, and it's much more reflective on certain other teams being terrible than it is on them being a disappointment.
Yes, I agree. With that being said, what do you feel about V3, who was also our team eliminated on the Group B side?
I mean, this one was kind of the opposite though from INTZ for me. They were a failure.
They were a failure for you?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is just me liking the underdog story. So the underdog of the underdogs is kind of a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
But V3 just looked so anemic. It looked like they had a really bad start. Okay, whatever. Call it nerves. Call it being jittery. Whatever.
Started 1-0.
Not just playing poorly. Yeah. Yeah, but it still didn't look so sloppy. It seemed like they kind of went back and forth of looking like they had it all on board in one game, and then all of a sudden, then it's like they would just forget how to play the game. They would just forget all the basics.
Yes, including their coaches.
Horrendous draft.
like Raptors.
Oh yeah. No. We'll get to drafting when we talk about Mad Lion.
Yeah, like.
But this is like a team that's like we historically have seen like these really scrappy underdog stories from teams like Detonation Focus Me in the past, and that's kind of what I expected here. I'm like, okay, well, I think Japan is maybe just slowly kind of climbing up. Like maybe this is the year. They maybe not make group stage, but I think maybe they go to a best of 5. Maybe they win one against like one of the other like the 3-4 team in their group. But they couldn't even do that for me. They just looked, like I said, anemic. They looked bad. They looked worse. Like this region that had been progressing and actually seemingly getting better and being on the cusp, now looks like they've regressed and they just look bad.
Did they necessarily regress, or did everyone else step up even further and leave them behind?
Well, if anything, regardless of what you think, if everyone else is getting better, if you're also not getting better, then you're regressing.
That's fair.
You're failing to live up to the expectations that the other regions are doing. And they don't have an excuse. Japan is the closest team to China and Korea. So they could actually practice against both regions if they could.
Yeah, it's hard for me because I put V3 as the worst team coming into this tournament, and I think they were the worst team in the tournament. I think they're even worse than ENCE because ENCE actually had like 3. They beat Team Liquid and they had 2 games that they were really close to being on Mad Lions. V3 beat Rainbow 7 in their first game, got destroyed to Unicorns of Love with Nomad's Cassidin play against the Galio, if you've seen it. Best play of Worlds so far, by far. And that will be a tough one to beat overall. I hope we see it because I love seeing amazing plays like that.
Wasn't that like that was like the No Man's play where he just chased everyone like all the way across the map?
Yeah, he was being chased against the Galio all the way around, did a little circle, did all the way back, and then just instantly killed Galio after that, and then killed the Caitlyn, and then killed the Scion right after. It was just...
See, as much as people hate about stuff like late game Cassidin and how much of a pain it is, like I like seeing good Cassidin players are actually really fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. So it is tough for me because like they did beat Rainbow 7, which I didn't expect them to. I did expect them to go 0-4. So to say they failed is tough. So I want to say they failed though because I'm gonna give them a fail because their drafts were so bad, and when they were in a position. And this is mostly on the coaches as well, but like when they were in a position to actually get out of there and like beat LGD, they drafted one of the worst team comps of all time. And I know I want to bring it up just because of the draft. I just want to show you guys, if you didn't see it, the actual draft, which is insane. It was simply, let me pull this over here.
Cool, quick sign in. Yeah, show everyone your information.
Yeah, apparently I need to sign in, which is cool.
Give us your credit card info, your social security number.
Yeah. So they drafted Camille, Elise or like set mid, but they left the Jax to be countered by Camille. They gave over the Orianna, which was undefeated at the time. They gave over the Graves, which was undefeated at the time. They picked Xayah and Nautilus into. They picked Nautilus into Leona, which is a counter. Like Leona counters Nautilus, and then they picked the Xayah instead of something like the Ashe, which was open, or any of the. I mean, even Lucian's open here if you want to flex Lucian down to ADC.
I mean, are we just gonna ignore the fact that they like first pick Set and then they second picked Elise?
Yeah, so they lost the flexibility completely of hiding the
whole point of picking a Set. Yeah, the whole point of picking like the Set in the first pick is just how flexible he is as a champion with his kit. Is that he can be played in pretty much any role, including mid lane. But so it leaves you that flexibility. But you immediately just squander that when you pick Elise.
Yep.
I understand wanting to pick something like the magic damage dealing jungler, dealing with an attack damage
but
to
no
have that mixed damage
Elise.
profile, no snowball a lane. But then this is what and then it's like, okay, well we want to pick an Elise so we can pair it with something like a Camille. I was like, okay, cool. Focus topside. That's fine. Why are you picking Set then?
And I mean, the whole thing was just absolutely terrible. And I mean, the game was lost in drive. Like it was like especially once LGD got rolling here at like the 12th minute here or whatever first blood was 10 minutes in. They got that, and then like 12 minutes they got 4 kills on Dragon. The game was completely over at that point. We knew it was over, and it just sucked.
It looked like they just didn't know. It's even coming out like, oh, we're gonna pick Xayah first, but it's like they almost you can almost see like they want to pick Xayah Rakan for the combo for the lovers duo lane, but then but they didn't want to pick Rakan because Rakan could be countered by Leona, so they pick Xayah. The enemy team picks Leona, so then you pick we can't pick Rakan now, so let's just pick Nautilus, who's also countered by Leona.
It was bad. It was terrible. Anyway,
yeah, Nautilus literally can't go in because Leona could just stuff him immediately.
Yep.
You should just bash her shield in his face, stun him, and then they just turn the entire engagement.
Number 1 and 2.
It just makes no sense. Elise literally makes no sense. I don't know why she's even being looked at as a champion in this meta. Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, what purpose does she serve?
Nothing.
She's actually terrible. And then picking the Camille, just leaving yourself open immediately to be countered by the Jax. Not even respecting it. The Jax is like this almost pure counter matchup into Camille. Camille, who likes to bully other melee matchups, who likes to scale, who likes to split push. Well, here's Jax, this champion that scales better and split pushes better and outduels people. That's literally what he does.
Yeah, well,
and he arguably has better team fighting than Camille does. I say arguably.
Yeah,
arguably, but it's true.
I mean, Jackson, when he goes in, 1 hits everyone, or like 3 hits everyone, I would say it's good team fighting.
He just runs in, hits just Counter-Strike, stuns 3 people. Game's over.
Hate that champion.
I love Jax.
All right.
He's one of my He's one of my old favorites from 2013. He was always one of my favorites.
I think this is goes without saying. Legacy pass, like easily a pass.
Oh yeah.
Like
3-1.
We had them both as our
no expectations, and they exceeded all of them.
And they came a game away, and not only that, they were 3-1 in groups, which they only lost to Team Liquid. Their only losses in the entire worlds were to Team Liquid and LGD. That's respectable. That is a really respectable. Yeah. They never even dropped a random game to another wildcard. They beat Supermassive, who looked pretty good. They beat INTZ, who did not look good until Team Liquid game. But it was overall really good by Legacy. I was super impressed by them. I think Raze is going to get a contract. He's going to be another Oceania import.
Dude, what is up with these Australian freaking 80 carries?
They're like the minor
like even
China.
Lost
FBI.
King, FBI, and now Raze.
They're so good.
Also, it's like, why do they all have like 3 to 4 letter names?
That's cool. The shorter the name, the better. But
okay, Will.
Yeah, thanks. Oh man, I was so impressed with Legacy. I had, like I said, most of their talent went away. I think Spawn posted that was Oceania ADC is the poor man's Chinese ADC. Yeah, basically.
Hey man, to be fair, almost no one can afford Chinese ADCs, so they're all aboard the poor man's
what was that, like
China.
a $10 million signing bonus or something like that for Jackulov?
Something like that.
That's
it's
signing
insane.
bonus, not even contract.
Yeah,
that's the rumor.
Oh my god. Just put that into perspective. This is why everyone's like, oh, China is just unfair.
Yeah.
Literally, $10 million signing bonus rumored for one player. $10 million just as an incentive for them to sign a contract. It's insane.
Absolutely insane. But yeah, Legacy, props to them. Like, I think, as Spawn said, about like 30-40% of the region left. Destiny, like you said, King, Fudge, then like obviously FPI, Triple. Like, all these players left Oceania that were their best players in Oceania, and now
don't forget Ryoma.
Ryoma, yeah. Technically true. He was a top player, but at the end of the day, so like Legacy, like even though they looked really good, it was like, who's left in that region? You know what I mean? Like, who are they looking good?
Apparently good still enough.
Apparently good enough. I was
not to mention Oceania is like kind of, you got to imagine they're kind of rough right now. Like, they're one of the regions that is, their country is like almost entirely on lockdown from COVID.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing where King, who's on the Cloud9 Academy roster, went back to Australia just like on the break away from the season after the spring split, and now he's stuck there. He can't go back. And Fudge is the same way. I think they literally said that he basically can't leave the country. He can't leave the U.S. right now.
Damn.
Because he's Australian as well.
I
think that it's even up in the air whether or not he can even go with the team to like a boot camp in the off season, like in China, Korea, wherever they decide to go, if they go anywhere.
Yeah, I'm wondering if teams are actually going to do boot camps in the off season this year.
It's going to be really weird. If anything, that's going to favor a lot of the world's teams coming back.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's obviously. I mean, we're talking about like regional play, like obviously teams like in Korea and China who just have like insanely good quality of life in solo queue and practices. They're probably not going to be too affected by it. But North America and Europe might be a little bit more difficult.
All right. Rainbow 7. You had them at 19. I had them at 20. Pass or fail?
Oh, big pass.
Big pass. Hell yeah. That's I actually
I believed in them.
I had them being a fail with INTZ after the first two games because I was like, if they lost to V3 and they got annihilated to PSG, I'm like, there's no shot. They have no shot. Like, their literal next two games are LGD and Unicorns of Love. What are they gonna do? Apparently, win them both.
Yeah, you were dragging on me, man.
I was, because I did not
Rainbow 7.
I did not expect the Rainbow 7, who was 0-2 with the two quote unquote best teams left in the group of Unicorns of Love and LGD to do anything.
Underestimated him, man. Jose Dioto is just too strong.
Oh, he's so good. Speaking of people,
so good.
People that need a contract, Jose Dioto needs to come somewhere.
Dude, so I don't remember who it was, but someone actually, like one of the players on Rainbow 7, I think it was their support. I can't remember. I think it was Shadow.
Shadow, yeah.
It was Rainbow 7 Shadow, not to be confused with Mad Lions jungler Shadow, but the support player Shadow. He came out like in an interview. It was like, oh, dude, Jose Dioto he's so good. Like, I really hope the best for him. I wanted to get picked up by a different region so he could actually play well and get better. He's like, he doesn't want Jose Dioto to be trapped in Latin America anymore.
I don't want Jose Dioto in Latin America anymore. Him and Raze were like two of the biggest standouts on these like teams that got eliminated quickly. I don't think anyone on V3 stood out. No one really on INTZ. Well, Tay stood out a lot actually to me. Even though he made a lot of mistakes, I loved his raw aggression. If
he can polish his play up, dude, he can actually be pretty solid.
He can be very good. He entered a lot, but at the same time, we like that here. We like Nogri. We like or we like the Shy. But he's not at that level obviously, but he's at that type of play style, which could be, like you said, if it's cleaned up a little bit, could be really good.
Yep. And this is kind of the thing where it comes back to North America Academy system. For anyone who's unaware, the Academy system, the way it works right now, is they implemented a new rule where obviously every team is limited to the number of imported players, basically non-resident North American players, who can play on their squads. You can have 2 on the main roster, and you can have upwards of 2 on the Academy roster. But the way the rule works now is that any import that you have essentially 1 free import slot for any player that is a not that is a non in a resident, as long as they're from a minor region. So players from a region like Brazil or Latin America or Turkey or Oceania, like those, like, or Japan, if they're able to get one of those players, they can have them on the team. That's actually kind of what C9 was. And I apologize, I did mess up with the rule. It was they only let have 1 import. I think they have no, they can't have 2. My mistake. Yeah, I was confused for a second because I forgot that they did have Soaz and Aka on the same Academy roster for Immortals, who are both French. But the C9 were essentially kind of running this for a little bit as well, where they had King and Fudge, who are both Oceanic players, on the same team in the academy league. It's kind of not the case anymore for obvious reasons, but it's one of the things where if you're seeing players like this, I mean, we saw it after last Worlds. Cloud9 picked him up. FlyQuest Academy picked up Triple, who's the mid laner for Mammoth, for their academy team. Like, these are the kind of moments like on Worlds in the group stage where players like Jose Diodo, Rays, they could easily get snatched up by an academy team. They can be given an offer by showing them, and teams can be a little bit more incentivized toward as well with this rule in place.
And so at that point of FBI, he showed up at MSI and got his contract with the Golden Guardians.
Lost, man. We're still waiting on him. Still waiting on a team to give him a chance. Mm-hmm. But I feel like that's always going to be an issue, though. It's in terms of main roster, though.
Yeah.
Because main roster is going to be a problem. Because the main roster is still always going to be limited by 2 importers.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's talk about Supermassive on... No. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Supermassive on the Group A side. Did they pass or fail?
I'd give him a soft pass.
Soft pass? Okay.
Yeah, they kind of just reached the expectations I expected them to go to.
Yes.
I mean, it was
no.
like they made the best of 5. I mean, it's disappointing that they kind of just blew it in the end against LGD. Just had just really kind of a piss poor performance.
Supermassive.
I'm not against LGD. I mean, yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of Rainbow 7 again. Like, I'm really sad. Come on. That actually really makes me sad. That team looked like it regressed so much.
Yeah, well, it was mostly the team was just Jose Diodo the whole time.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like if you're like comparing like the freaking group, like the second round of performances, like the last 2 games that they played.
Yeah,
and then they go into a best of 3. No, it's not even like they went back to day 1. It's like they went back to last year. They were playing they were picking a completely different meta. Everything was wonky. No one was playing well except Jose Diodo. Team didn't even look terrible. Like, I made the joke that's like I was afraid like the freaking Chinese mafia, like the triads, came after them and were like, y'all better throw this fucking series. I swear to God, or you're gonna ship your family your kneecaps. Like, it's actually like that's like it was such a marked back turn from how they were playing. Like, it's terrible. Like, I don't know what in the world happened. It didn't even look like LGD playing good. It looked like Rainbow 7 just making stupid mistakes and bad calls repeatedly, just handing it over to them.
Yeah.
But that said, moving on from Rainbow 7 and being sad about that. Supermassive, I say, like, they still pass. I mean, at the end of the day, they made best of 5. They knocked out the European team.
They made it as far as I thought they would, a different way. Kind of like a lot of teams. Yeah. But, like, honestly, when you look at the end of the day, the 4 teams that made it, Team Liquid, LGD, PSG, and Unicorns of Love, all teams I really expected to make it out. For the most part, outside maybe PSG was the one I wasn't really thinking it. Just Mad Lions really. Like, I'm not surprised that any of them made it out. It's more surprising just how far Mad Lions fell, kind of deal. Like, those were the top teams outside of Mad Lions. And Supermassive, they made it. I expected them to make it to this final game, but I expected them to make it over Legacy or no, INTZ is who I thought they would beat in a best of 5 to have to face Unicorns of Love.
They didn't even need to do that.
Exactly. They had to face Mad Lions, which is a much harder matchup, I would say, in a best of 5 scenario, usually. And they beat Mad Lions in a tough best of 5. It was close the whole time. And then
Until the last game.
I knew it was over in the last game.
When the last pick Malphite came in, baby.
The Malphite
rock solid.
It locked it in. I'm like, it's over. And like, unless your mid laner picks like, I think Syndra was banned, and like everything banned for mid lane. They had 5.
It was like Orianna, bans. Wasn't it?
Yeah, I think Ori was banned if I remember correct. I'll pull it up real quick because it was every single ban. So, they just. I don't know what to say about her. Really,
that's kind of what it came. That's what it kind of came down to. Is the idea of like the Mad Lions draft just kind of fell off a cliff. I feel like they regressed again.
It was like Akali, Orianna, Lucian, Syndra, Cassiopeia. So they took out all mages and Lucian, which is important to take out Lucian. But the issue here is they had Senna, Graves, Renekton, and Leona. 2 auto attackers, kind of an auto attacker with Renekton, and Leona, who's also weirdly enough an auto attacker with the auto cancellations. But sure, damage is not what you pick Leona for. But and then they picked Malphite, and then you went mixed damage Corki / auto attacker Corki. I know he has armor shred. I know he has magic damage. I understand that, but it's still mixed damage instead of full AP. It's different.
Yeah, he's like 80. He's still only like 80% match damage. To be fair.
Yeah.
And that's like the main thing. A lot of Corki's damage is kind of like upfront, kind of bursty style damage, like going in with the package. They kind of spell weaving autos in between your R, your Q, and everything like that. But plus it's like that. He's basically just got magic damage 80 carry. And Malphite loves 80 carries.
Yeah.
Because he kills them all.
So you picked 3 auto attackers and Renekton, and like that one moment where Renekton W'd, like unpowered W or whatever, Q'd him or auto attacked him, and then he walked away he didn't even break the shield or whatever, and his Sunfire Bramble Vest is what did more damage to Renekton than Renekton actually hitting him.
Renekton literally hurt himself more than he hurt Malphite.
Exactly, and it was just like you knew the game was over at that point. You also not only on top, like we're talking about bad draft in general on champions. You put Carzzy on Senna, who's lost 1 game on Senna. I think they won the other, but it was like he popping off on Ezreal for the most part. Ezreal is still open here. Every ADC is open here except for Lucian. You pick Senna, Leona, you get countered by Caitlyn Morgana, which we haven't seen in a lot, but Caitlyn Morgana is still gross. It's still super gross of a combo.
And it feels like people just kind of forgot about it.
It does kind of feel like it was forgotten about.
Yeah, but it's like people kind of just kept they branched away from Caitlyn. They would go for more picks like Senna. Yeah,
but she was
but
almost.
It wasn't even. I think even then it wasn't like a full. I don't think it was even like a full revert.
It was,
if I recall correctly.
It was. They took the 5 win with speed and the 2 AD away.
That's right. They just took the 2 AD. But even then, I understand she's still strong. The 2 AD did matter, but I think like even then people were still going utility style AD carries, like and champions that do pretty well into Caitlyn, like Ashe, like Jhin, even like Senna to an extent. But I feel like the main issue is that I feel like a lot of people, it was mostly a support mini game for the bot lane. If teams ever pick Caitlyn, was always like if you first pick Caitlyn, then we could take something like a Morgana, or we could take like a pick like Ashe, and force you to pick support early on. And then if you pick support early on, then we counter your support. We'll pick something like a Karma. Or something to break the shield. They can break Morgana's shield and just make it so that the lane is just terrible for Caitlyn Morgana. Or if you pick something that isn't Morgana, like a Thresh, like Caitlyn Thresh that we've seen a couple times, or a Nautilus, then they'll pick the Morgana themselves. Or if you don't pick support, they take Morgana to deny you the Morgana, and then ban the Morgana counters. So it's one of those things where it feels like the minigame was always just difficult. It's probably something that a lot of teams maybe just didn't feel like playing, and especially when Caitlyn's kind of brought back to a less powerful state, a less like lane oppressive state than she was with her higher attack damage early on. But I feel like it's like Caitlyn Morgana is still like super powerful, especially when teams are still drafting these heavy engage style supports, even like Alistar.
Yep,
Like
Leona,
Alistair,
Rakan,
Leona.
Nautilus, Alistair, all of them.
I will say I'm surprised we didn't see as much like more Thresh than we did, but Thresh as well. Like these are all champions, but it's like it's one of those things where I feel like Caitlyn could still have a spot in the meta, but I feel like teams like if they're smart, they don't have to first pick it anymore,
Nope.
but they can wait. They can wait and they can actually just do like a quick lock in when other teams are like fourth picking Leona or fourth picking or like third picking Nautilus or something like that. And he's like, okay, 4-5, Caitlyn Morgana. And now you're done. Now they can't beat our lane anymore.
And this,
Oh, you're Ash Nautilus against Caitlyn Morgana. Have fun.
yeah, and this kind of leads into our final team to talk about before we get into group stage. Mad Lions, pass or fail.
Yeah, that's an F. That's an F minus. I'm not even gonna give you a point. Like for the games you beat against the last place team in your group.
First ever.
Like,
well,
like LGD, LGD as much of a disappointment as they would have been. I don't think I would have graded. I probably wouldn't have graded them like much worse or much better than Mad Lions.
Yeah,
because
they
they literally ended up 1-3 in both of their groups, and then only beating the last place team in both times.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the last place team to get to 1-3. And they beat the last place team in a tiebreaker.
Yeah, and
that was the only difference.
In LGD's
the difference
case,
was
they
that
recovered.
LGD actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not even just that, but even even if you say, okay, group stage ends right now, like group stage ends before the knockout stage, how do you group everyone? LGD is probably the biggest disappointment, but at the same time, I feel like they're also not that much of a disappointment because this is like the same LGD that we saw in the regular season in China.
Fair, and it's also their group was tougher at the top. Like Unicorns of Love and PSG were much tougher than the rest of the...
As it proved from the final results.
Yeah,
literally 3 teams from a 5-team group made it to the group stage, coming out of it.
But which is like the max can happen because the other one had to.
Yeah. So, and I feel like there were so much more egregious mistakes from Mad Lions from basically across the board against everyone. Like Humanoid was fine, Karzi was trying his ass off. Arome, even though like everyone's gonna give him shit, and rightfully so, because he's played some terrible games, without question.
He lost like every top lane to
So he basically lost every top lane. I would say that as well. But I mean, look at what his jungler was fucking doing.
Fair. But
so and even then like he had moments like when he was playing Mordekaiser where he was basically like 2v8 with him and Karzi, desperately keeping Mad Lions in the game. Like they were, I think it was one of the games versus Supermassive.
Yes, it was game 1.
They were, yeah.
But he did have the Mordekaiser ult that was a split second too late, and Hecarim was able to ult and steal away Ocean.
Yeah, it was like the Uber dive comp from Supermassive where they had Galio, Hecarim, and Alistair.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Camille as well. But it was just. It was and it was literally came down to, well, what the hell is Mad supposed to do against this comp? Like this comp is terrible. It's like the only thing you can hope to do is like maybe Mordekaiser ults a good target. Like maybe he ults the Hecarim before he goes in. But it's like, well, you still have a champion like Alistair who could always go in, who could Hex Flash to get around to flanks, and then you have a Galio go over the top. There's always going to be a different play that Supermassive can make. But Arome was still like making plays as Mordekaiser, like desperately keeping them in the game. They were down like at least, I want to say, the 5,000 to 6,000 gold or something. and that game was brought back and it was actually close.
Yeah,
like they were basically flipping fights at some point.
Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, Mad was the first, is the second ever major region team to be kicked out of play-ins. The first one was Hong Kong Attitude. However, Mad is the first major region team to lose a best of 5 to a wildcard team. As Hong Kong Attitude, if I remember correctly, lost to Fnatic, right?
Yeah. They just lost out. I think they lost to Fnatic groups because I think they came second.
Yes, so they screwed up their best of 1s, which is usually more likely than losing the best of 5. So this is the very first best of 5 loss by a major region, and it was a close one. Like we said, it was 3-2, but at the end of the day, they lost it to Supermassive, who is the 3rd seed coming out of Turkey, by the way. The 3rd seed. So it's not even like this is like, oh, it's not a unicorns of love scenario where it's like unicorns are so much better than everyone else in the region. The other seeds are pretty good too.
Supermassive was easily probably like the 3rd best team in Turkey.
Yeah.
I don't even know much about the wildcard regions. But I know that. Yeah. I know that Supermassive was not the best for the longest time.
Istanbul, I mean, like, to prove our point, let's just do TCL. I know they popped off in playoffs, but let's just remember, because people don't look. Supermassive went 11-7 during the regular season. That's only a 61% win rate in the Turkish league, where you had Istanbul at 16-2 and Galacticos at 14-4, who both choked in the playoffs, unfortunately. But that just means that wildcards are stepping up. And that's the last part I want to make before we go to groups, is not only were these games, not only were they like crazy and like wildcards stepping up, it wasn't cheese. It wasn't like we saw with Vietnam getting Levi Nocturne level 6 by like 2 minutes into the game.
Yeah, he's ulting in like everyone else is level 2 and he's level 6 ulting the bot lane.
Yeah, it's none of that weird spicy cheese that I absolutely love to see. By the way,
it's not Saros on Ziggs. It's not Kira on Anivia.
Yeah, it's just straight up good macro, good play.
Good macro for the most part from some teams.
For lack of a better term, there much better than what we've seen before. But they're just simply outplaying the major region teams for the most part. And even against Team Liquid outplayed them. Mad Lions outplayed every game.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's like Mammoth from last year.
Yeah,
where Mammoth they weren't necessarily cheesing everybody; they were just surprising everybody by how good they were playing. Mm-hmm. But now it's like instead of just that one team from that one region that's surprising everybody, it's just every region.
Yep, pretty much
it's all these teams playing way above expectation, with the exception of a few. But like you're talking about a wildcard region where you have Turkey, Brazil, Latin America, the CIS, which has Russia in it. You have the PCS, who like up until this point were considered a joke as well. And you're talking about a substitute team with players who hadn't, like 3 out of 5 players who had played with each other on this team. Like you have all these different regions, Japan, and Vietnam who weren't even here, and yet they're the ones who were considered one of the stronger regions as well. At the wildcards, where they have 2 seeds.
Going into it, I had Gigabyte Marines slightly above Unicorns of Love, like just at about the same level, with the same level of craziness.
Yeah, and if you're talking about like them and PSG and the Gigabyte Marines, if they're all playing well, like imagine if this was like the old style where you had 4 groups of 3.
Mad and the last
place. Yeah. Imagine like you're talking about like, oh, here's Mad Lions. Oh, you're in a group with the Gigabyte Marines and Rainbow 7. Now all of a sudden, Rainbow 7 and the Gigabyte Marines might get out over China.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome.
What happens if Mad Lions doesn't get free wins versus INTZ? What if they're the ones paired against like I don't know what to say, like I'm trying to think of another team. Legacy, but like they could be paired against Supermassive from the beginning. They could be paired, like Legacy. Like they're out. They're out again. They might just go straight up like 0-3 and they're out.
This makes me hope that the wild cards get a little bit more like people slightly paying attention. I don't expect people to we're barely getting people to pay attention to China, and they've won the world championship 2 years in a row. But I'm hoping the wildcards get a little bit recognition from this, and hopefully don't regress next year and actually build upon this to make some even bigger splashes coming in.
Honestly, this is kind of why I have hopes. I really kind of hope for NA. I hope for NA, and not even, like beyond just being an NA fan, but I'm even thinking the same for like PSG. Like I'd love to see the PCS and the North America teams surprise in group stage next.
Yeah.
Like PSG is playing this well, like maybe Maki looks better. Like what if like Team Liquid, they look like garbage. Mm-hmm. They looked like a shadow of themselves in playoffs in North America. Yep. They stepped up and they looked like champions again. In the playing stage.
They look really. They've given me a lot of false hope. All of a sudden, I don't even want to say false hope, but I was blown. I guarantee that Team Liquid shows up at NA playoffs. They like almost 9-0 playoffs probably. That's phenomenal.
They probably go straight in. But you're talking about like even as a C9 fan, it's always like to say like Team Liquid and C9 and even Golden Guardians to an extent, they're all roughly on the same level. You're arguably like on the same level coming out of playoffs.
Yep.
It's like those are the three teams that never played each other.
Yeah.
C9, Golden Guardians, Team Liquid. Team Liquid did play Golden Guardians, so that one was a little off. But you're talking about even in those games, Golden Guardians bot lane was 2v2 killing Team Liquid's bot lane.
Yep.
Tactical and Core JJ, who are now popping off in the group stage, who look awesome. So you're talking about now you're talking about North America, like, oh well, if FlyQuest and TSM show up, now you're talking about like, well, here's NA where they have 5 teams who are all probably good and arguably worlds level.
That's weird.
Like you're talking about a C9 team that fell off the face of the earth.
Especially,
but they started the year going 35-2 in game record, winning the playoffs in spring with only 2 game losses total.
Mm-hmm. And in spring, we had mentioned that only one team from NA was even remotely good, and that was C9. So now, like you just said, if we have 5 teams that are good, that's
literally, you're talking about North America saying like half of your region is potentially world's caliber. Like we're not even saying like, oh well, we're all going to be championship. Like we're all going to win. Like any one of our teams could win the world title. But we're talking about like, dude, if you're saying like, oh, 3 teams. Like these two, if all 3 of these teams are roughly the same level, and all 3 of them are capable of making group stage, and some of them are capable of even getting out of groups, what does that say for NA?
Yeah, I will be quite shocked of what Raptor said if they all go 1-5 or 0-6. I'll be quite shocked about that if that happens.
Well, yeah, I mean that's obviously still a massive possibility, of course. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying like if that's why I'm saying like that's why I have hope, and not necessarily hope. This is kind of like I want to kind of see this from NA. Yes. I want to see the upsets. I want to see all these narratives get flipped on their head and everyone to shut the fuck up. I want everyone to shut up about fucking Europe. I want them to shut up about Korea. I want them to shut up about China. Because the LGD showed that maybe they need to shut the fuck up about China too. Because you're talking about a 17-team region that's possibly going to 18, 20 teams. And who knows how many sister teams and academy teams that they have between all of those teams. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about maybe 2 who are actual world championship caliber, who are considered like god tier above everyone else. 2 teams out of 17, and you gave them 4 spots, and the other 2, one of them almost lost in the Playin stage, and the other one is Suning. And anyone who doesn't know about Suning, just listen to the tone of my voice. Listen to the venom.
They made it, man. They're gonna win out of your spite. You forget. Yes. You forget that. You're gonna get Suning skins.
I'm sure I'm fueling them, but that's kind of like what I want to see. Like, I'd love to see like a Maki Esports and PSG just like start running rampant, like actually taking wins off people. I want to see like TSM getting like these like year-long revenge since like 2017. Double F getting revenge on Ruler. I'd love to see FlyQuest come in like freaking Power of Evil and Ignar. They're gonna take it to Korea again. They're going to take them down. They're going to punch top esports in the face. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see it because I want to see what the hell happens next year. I want to see what happens next year when that happens.
Hey,
and I'll say, and this is kind of like going into the comment. It's like, okay, sure, it's twisting it to say like, oh well, if Team Liquid is good coming out of play-ins, it's kind of a weird twist to say Golden Guardians and C9 are good. Well, let's think back to last year. Clutch Gaming, sure, they went 0-6. They had 2 games they should have won. They should have at least not. Yeah, and they were in a death group. And they were in a death group.
Don't bring that group up. I've talked about it with Raptor a lot.
Exactly.
It makes me so sad that RNG didn't make it out of that group because of Clutch.
Yeah, and not even talk about like C9. Historically speaking, with this roster and coaching staff, last year was like an anomaly. It was the first time they never went through play-ins. It was the first time they never had that warm-up round. It was the first time they had like kind of a lackluster boot camp. They just came off of being mentally boomed at Worlds. Historically, Cloud9 have been the hope for a reason. because for some reason at Worlds, like Team Liquid kind of has taken up the mantle now, they step up. They learn. Think of the last time that Cloud9 had practice on good solo queue against good teams, quality teams. It was in the preseason before spring. And then what did Cloud9 do? They came in and annihilated everybody and won their first title in 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine if they actually made it to Worlds. Imagine if they had a chance at MSI to play against these teams, to play against freaking SKT. Like you were talking about SKT, who was like best in Korea, but imagine the confidence boost of beating SKT if they managed that in practice. Getting practice against team, even a team like JDG, like having this chance against these other regions, against G2 as well. Going into Worlds and having this practice against these teams, high caliber teams, good solo queue, teams that aren't just randomly inting you into scrims or refusing to scrim you outright because apparently they're getting destroyed so hard that their morale is ruined. And those teams would rather practice against other teams because they don't want to expose anything to you. Meanwhile, C9 is stuck playing against Team Liquid in scrims and apparently just 4-1 and 5-0ing them every single day. So that's what I'm. So kind of
Ryan
kind of breaking off the topic.
Over.
Yeah, it's just kind of breaking off this topic, but it's like I'd love to see this happen because I'd want to see what happens next year. I want to see just how like world seeding and how world's grouping works at Worlds. When the status quo was broken. I'd love to see that.
Yeah. And speaking of that, though, let's us go to the group stage games, and I will do my Pickems. I already technically made them, but I rearranged it to be in the order of the prediction or of the seed. So, yeah, I'm kind of curious. I did not look at yours. Let me pull yours up here. We're gonna copy the link, and we're gonna open in a new tab over here so we don't just spoil them. And then we're just gonna slowly move these over here, and then okay. So, yours are spicy. All right. Group A. Let's start with that. Group A has G2, Suning, Maki Esports, and Team Liquid. So, G2 is probably most people's favorites. I have them ranked 4th in the world right now, and I have Suning at 5th.
I thought you were going to say 4th in the group.
4th in the group, yeah, they're garbage.
Everyone thinks that they're favorites. I have them ranked 4th in the group. They're actually terrible. Taiwan's going to show up.
Oh, man, I'm so conflicted right now because I initially, like I said, so this is my group initially, and I don't know if I want to change this or not, but I'm gonna have to do it on the podcast. I had it like this, and I had G2's experience. Your session has expired. Okay, cool. But I had it like this, and I think that the issue was that Team Liquid was close, but I think Suning's really good and really underrated. But G2, I feel like, is going to beat Suning. Sorry, New Hope for Will. I think G2 is going to beat Suning off of experience. So then in the back of my mind, I'm like, can Team Liquid beat Suning off of experience? And could the rookies on Suning just not be able to step up to the plate? They do have like Sword Art. Has SOFM ever been the Worlds?
I don't believe so.
I don't believe he has. Bin is like a rookie, Angel's like a rookie, and Wanfong is like a rookie. They're all good. But it's also the fact that Bin is, I'll steal this from Raptor, Bin is essentially, if you didn't watch LPL, the Bwipo of LPL. Can be really good at times, can also ent a lot, but not at the same level as the Shy. but like his peaks aren't that high, but his ents also aren't that low. But he's kind of in between, a little lesser to extent, basically around what Bwipo is. So if you watched EU, think of Bwipo with Bin. That being said, Angel is a much, much weaker laner than Caps and Jensen even. I think Angel is the weak point of Suning's team right now, and we're seeing mid. It's not that he's bad. He's just a more passive laner, and he's not the strength of the team per se. The strength of the team mostly solely comes from SOFM for the most part, and then the bot lane with Wanfeng and Sword Art, and it's mostly Wanfeng. Weirdly enough, that says Wanfeng also a rookie ADC, where you have Sword Art if you've known him for a while. Long time, old time Flash Wolf, long time favorite of mine at the support position. So I sit here and think about Team Liquid and how they've played at Playin. Sorry for the rant, but the way
I'll
tactical.
Never forgive you for ranting.
The tactical and Core JJ kind of look better than Wanfeng and Sword Art right now, like by a lot.
Well, how do you know that? Have you seen Wanfeng and Sword Art play?
I haven't seen them play recently, but with what I've seen previously and what I'm
so how could you possibly know? So how could you possibly know?
I can't possibly know.
There you go.
Jensen,
it's over. That means Suning wins.
Jensen is better than Angel right now.
How do you know?
And Impact.
What if he picks Zoe?
Impact. I'm ignoring you. Impact is better than Bin on his bad days. I think Bin might be slightly better on his good days, though. But it's not a massive difference by any means.
So on his trash bin days, Impact is better. But on his put you in the trash bin days, he's better.
Yeah. So it's really
and that's kind of the issue, though.
The difference. Raptor ruined me today. But the real difference is in the jungle. SOFM is flat out way better than Broxa. Broxa has had actually a fantastic play-ins, in my opinion. He hasn't
except for that one game.
That one game
where we got some NA Broxa back.
Yes,
for the INTZ game.
But his Graves is aggressive. I saw some people calling it like, oh, it's just because his laners are winning. Partially true, but he's still aggressively going for stuff, which I haven't seen since he's been on Liquid. Like you can't just take him out for his laners doing good. Like he actually came up and stepped up and picked up kills and like did counter ganks and got kills off of it, and just flat out took over the map on his Graves to the point where I feel like Graves needs to be banned against Broxa. Which
also his Lee Sin's
undefeated basically. His Lee Sin, it's still there.
No, it is undefeated.
It's not. It lost the game. It lost the game in playoffs.
When?
It did. I don't know which. I think it was against FlyQuest, but it lost the game.
No, it didn't. No, fake news.
But it comes down to Team Liquid. I think has the issue we had with Team Liquid is they had very, very small champ pools, so it's pretty easy to play around. From what we've seen, they now have a really tough time for their opponents to ban against them, because you probably have to ban Twitch over Khan. You have to ban possibly Callista. I think you can let that one slide. But I think you have to ban Graves from Broxa.
Shen.
You have to ban Shen from Impact. You have to ban Ornn if you're on red side, just because if the blue side gets Ornn, it's really OP. Like you said, Mordekaiser. Jensen's Orianna right now. You probably don't have to ban his Silas. It looked okay, but it didn't look that great, in my opinion.
Well, to be fair, Orianna is like a classic Jensen pick.
Yes, exactly. So you have like Orianna, Rakan, Callista, Impact's Ornn, Shen. That's not even including the basic bans of like Lilia, which I don't think you have to actually ban against Team Liquid, and like Lucian though in the mid lane, or Ashe maybe was also a top pick ban right at this playing stage. You have to let that stuff go pretty much if you want to play against them.
And don't forget, there's still picks out there like Nautilus, like Bard, like Senna.
Oh yeah, Core JJ's Bard. Completely forgot about that. like that's a really good high level pick that he has. Like, it's making me lean more towards Team Liquid actually upsetting Suning right now, which I thought never in a million years. Suning was just the better team than Team Liquid. They play the same style. They're both slow as shit. They both go by the book.
Not to mention, here's the other thing too. One of the big talking points, at least among us, is Team Liquid's champion pool. What about Suning's?
It wasn't that big.
Suning's champion. Suning's champion pool, like you're talking about, like them being essentially like Chinese Liquid. Like at least Liquid improved. Like that's what you have to hope if you're a Suning fan. Because
Yeah,
like
it's
if
unknown.
Wanfong is not like on Jin, because Wanfong is not on Jin, or if Angel is not on Zoe, or if Bin is not on Renekton, or if he gets countered, what does this team look like?
Yeah, you can give Bin Renekton if you pick Ornn, if they let Ornn or Shen come through. Like, they would have to ban
Yeah,
those two, and then you ban Renekton if they ban those two. And now all of a sudden, Ori's open, Rakan's open, Twitch is open because they had to ban top lane. Or Graves,
yep.
like, something's going to be open no matter what against Team Liquid, and I think that's a really strong thing. That kind of scares me. And like Raptor said, he sent me something from Frost on Euphoria today, and I listened to it because I was at home. I was working from home today, so I was like, oh, I can listen to this right now. And what she said very much surprised me. She didn't think Team Liquid was the best, quote unquote, best team in the group per se, because like if you were to give, because I think when you rank teams, it's usually off best of fives. But in a best of one scenario, she said Liquid's out for sure, and it's a fight between G2 and Suning for second and third because G2 drops a lot of best of ones. And Suning also is a very young team. So I think after that long rant,
that's actually a very good point about G2 as well.
I will keep G2 at number one because I do think they're really, really good. but the issue is we can meme Liquid. So I wanted to end the rant, but now I'm bringing it back up. We can meme Liquid getting fastest best
Never
of five.
end.
Best of
Never
five
stop ranting.
For Team Liquid versus G2 in the finals. That same MSI in group stage, Liquid went 1-1 with G2, which I know is not as important as the finals, but we're talking best of ones here. So it is very much possible that Liquid can take a game off of G2 here, especially because I think Liquid from that MSI is about the same, if not worse, than the Liquid from this Worlds, as of what we've seen, where that G2 was much better than that G2 we've seen currently. So it could happen. It could be a one. I think it's very possible. I've gotten from play-ins has made me think Liquid can take a game off G2 and Suning, where before I thought it was blasphemy. I thought it was easily they were going to go 2-4 in this group with no shot. Also, Maki is in this group. I put him fourth. They crushed PSG.
Also, Maki's here, by the way.
Yeah, I forgot to bring them up because I went on that Liquid rant, and I'm going to keep them at 2 now because it's spicy, and I just went on that rant. It would be a waste of time if I didn't. But
no, you just got to put Maki at number one.
No, Maki, I think I think they could be really good as well. They crushed PSG talent, and granted, the PSG talent that we saw in play-ins, I really do not think is going to be the same PSG talent we see in groups. Also, unfortunate, they're in the toughest group, so you're going to be like, oh, they're going to go 0-6 anyway. Probably, but they're also going to look like they're playing worse, in my opinion. But that's my group. Ryan, you actually have the same thing. You have G2, Team Liquid, Suning, and Maki as well.
Yes.
Pretty
much the same exact. I would say pretty much for the same reasons that you outlined here. The one thing I will say is that I actually would almost bank on Maki to potentially cause havoc in this group. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if like the underdog factor just comes in, no one's expecting them, then like they take a game off of Sunny, or if they Mr. Buffalo G2 or something. Now all of a sudden you talk about like Team Liquid possibly being number one, because they're the team that probably plays consistently against wildcard teams.
That's a good point. Like Liquid is like, compared to other teams, they will shut Maki down because they just play so well against lower competition.
Yeah. Whereas Suning just randomly has random lows against teams.
And Suning was not good in best of one scenario. They lost a lot of games in their best of threes. They were 2-1s quite often.
Yep, they're like right there with like IG with some of the with one of the worst game records in a best of three region.
IG was terrible.
Oh yeah, they were actually terrible. They're horrendously bad.
They won almost all of them, but they really at least dropped one game in each one.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's kind of where I am. I think it's a little bit more open and shut on. Like Group A is a little bit open. Group C, we'll get to it. It's a little bit more open, but I think B and D are pretty open and shut cases.
I agree with B. I think there's wiggle room in D. But
nah, dude, there's no wiggle room. We'll talk about it.
Group B is JDG, Damwon, Rogue, and PSG. I really think that JDG is probably going to top this group. It is an asterisk though. If the Damwon that JDG gets the benefit of the doubt because they played against teams like Top Esports. They played against Suning and destroyed them. They played against LGD and dismantled them. They didn't actually play against Suning in the playoffs, but they played against LGD. They destroyed them. They fought neck and neck with Top Esports, who did destroy Suning in the playoffs, and they won Spring Split also neck and neck with Top Esports as well. They've really got on track. They are the best team fighting team in the entire world by a decent margin. Like, they have the best.
And they did it all. And they did it all with a 2-trick top laner.
Yeah. I think he's more than a 2-trick, but he really only has to play 2. With Ornn coming back in the meta again, Jesus Christ. No, you cannot. You cannot.
I just love. I was like, oh, when Ornn came back into the meta, I was like, fucking Ornn never left. People just dropped him for no reason.
He got dropped
Ornn
for no
always
reason.
been good.
He's always been good, but he got dropped with the nerfs like level 14 to wait for items. Like
boo fucking you.
I know.
You gotta wait one more
he's
level.
still amazing. He's still an absolute amazing champion. But do not give JGG or Rogue, Damwon, PSG, any of you, do not give JDG Ornn. Or just disconnect from the game.
Here comes Damwon.
3-minute surrender. That Lamau Rakan, like, you think the team fighting champions, you go through the list of who's a good pro level team fighting champion, ban it.
Oh man, here it comes, dude. JDG's like in their first game, they're gonna get like Ornn. They're gonna get like Ornn, Rakan, Twitch, and Orianna. They're just gonna annihilate everybody.
You don't have a chance.
It's just gonna be stupid. Or your gal's gonna get like Zoe or something because like he's like Zoe 1-trick.
Like,
don't trust him. If you don't trust him on anything else.
If you didn't watch LPL, the JDG has the best top laner in the world. To be fair, with Zoom, one of the best junglers with Kanavi. If not, some people would probably say the best at times.
He was the best at times. He was the worst at times.
Lamau's probably the best support, top 2.
I would say he's probably the best support in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's right there with Beryl. Like, Beryl and him are pretty good. Which, of course,
I would definitely put him above Beryl, though.
That's fair.
Just
that's
slightly,
totally
though.
fair. But they're definitely top 2 as well. But so they have really good players, but it's on their carries where they're not as good. They have Loken, who I consider the 3rd best ADC here at Worlds.
You incorrectly considered him the 3rd best.
I always liked Loken better than almost the average, the normal person's perspective of Loken is much lower than mine. I've always had a soft spot for him. I thought he got trolled by Ben back when he was on Top Esports.
I mean, that's true.
But
to be fair, Mystic is also being controlled by Ben.
That's also
again.
But it's in reality, Yagao I think is really good, but he only has a few picks. But if he plays those picks, he's really, really good on them. Like, really good. So Ben, thank you. But I think so they don't have the flashy star power. They're just that team fighting team that just will destroy you. Where Damwon is super flashy.
Yeah. I would say even then JDG, they still have at least a star power in a player like Zoom and a player like Kanavi.
Yeah, there's star power in team fighting. They're not gonna crush you.
They're not household name.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, but here's the thing, like for the longest time, like you're talking about a player like the Shy. Like, they were never going to be household names. They weren't household names until IG stormed through fucking Worlds and won a title.
Fair enough.
So,
Zoom is much better than Shy right now.
and that's what I'm trying to say. Like, Zoom has a chance to really cement himself as, like, arguably, as not just the best top laner in the world, but arguably the best top laner of potentially the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then he's going against Damwon, who has Nogri, Canyon, Showmaker, Ghost, and Beryl.
And then Ghost and Beryl.
Yeah, who are still really good. They're not.
I know they're good. Oh, dude, remember I have them. I have them on my top 20 list.
Yes.
Ghost too.
Yes, you.
I'm just saying
the way I feel
because we're talking about superstar players like and also Ghost.
Yeah. It's just
they're the Maki esports of this team.
Yes, and they're
also here.
Ghost to you is what Loken is to me, where you have a lot more faith than the average person has in Ghost. But to be fair, Ghost has stepped up phenomenally and is the one of the main reasons why Damwon isn't just this like mid-tier, like decent team in Korea that has a lot of potential with Nuclear
where they're nothing but a top side team basically.
Yeah, and now they have a bot side to play to. They have a top side. I mean, they have mid lane, which is insane. They have everything to play to, and the only reason I have them number 2 in this group instead of number 1 is because they need to prove. JDG's already proven to me with their fights against top esports and the rest of China. We've talked about it a million times. We think Korea's very weak, very very weak and exposed. Damwon,
probably the weakest it's been since 2018.
Yes.
And considering you're talking about a team like Damwon being at Worlds, that's saying a lot.
And Damwon has a chance to prove. It's not like a situation where Damwon looked bad in the game. The reason why they're still an S+ for me, in like just right up there with JDG and top, they just need to prove it. It's because they went through the games in like 20 minutes. They made the rest of Korea look like a joke, and which no other team in Korea was exposing.
They make them look like the joke that they are.
Yeah, basically, I didn't want to say it, but yeah. And
don't worry, I will.
And they draft phenomenally, where no one else. DRX has terrible drafts. Gen G has bad drafts. I won't say they're as bad as DRX is. T1 has worse than DRX and Gen G's, and those were your top 3 teams outside of Damwon. So the rest of the teams couldn't beat those bad drafts at all. Damwon could. They drafted well. They played well. They played super aggressive. Like Frost also said on there, I saw they team fight. They don't team fight messy like JDG and Top, who just. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful mess.
Time to fight.
Yes, exactly. They picked
everyone's mechanics. Everyone's just trying to out mechanic each other as 5 different people.
Where Damwon is more of like a precise team fight, like right at the perfect moment. The team fight, they hit it right then, and they've never failed pretty much all year, except for their DRX series. But
think of it like JDG and Top Esports are like 2 just guys just punching each other with a flurry of blows, whereas Damwon is like the kind of player who's like he'll kick you he'll do like an inside kick to the shin, but use that as a setup to like a roundhouse kick to just knock you out.
Yep.
Or hit you with a bunch of body shots to set you up for the uppercut.
Yeah,
it's all set up. It's old school. It's pretty old school like Korean style team fighting.
Yep.
It's very
just at a faster pace.
Yeah, and a lot of times they aren't about like, oh, we're just going to out mechanic you, which is what a lot of Korean teams end up kind of just devolving into, is like one player just pulling off the 1v9 play and just pulling off his mechanics and just hitting his keys just better and faster than everyone else.
Don't give away DRX's strategy.
Dude, I've been giving away DRX's strategy to anyone who's actually watching this. They just listen to this, and like if they need confidence against a team like DRX, just listen to me. Just listen to this guy, because I'll watch this team, and I am not, because I'm like, if you're talking about a team who are not going to be bought into the mystique of players, to the mystique of a region, that's the way you beat these teams. Is you play your game, you play your setup, you play as a team, and they can never beat you.
I agree.
Damwon is Damwon is the exception because they play as a team.
Yeah,
they have star players, but they still play as a team, and everyone plays their role.
Yep. And I mean, Rogue and PSG, like Maki, are there. It's unfortunate that Rogue is there, because Rogue, in my opinion, is one of the best Western teams here. I put them at the
arguably the second best, arguably the second best European team.
Yes, and like just with
take that as you will.
Pure consistency, I think they are better than Fnatic. I know Fnatic beat them 3-0 in the playoffs, but I think on a pure consistent basis, Rogue is better than Fnatic.
Yeah, but that was in the first round.
It was in the first round.
That was literally freaking Fnatic's best series, and Rogue's worst.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, it sucks. It really sucks, because I thought pretty much if Rogue got anyone else in this group outside of top, they'd be okay. They'd probably make it.
You mean? Oh yeah. I thought you were saying. I thought you were implying that Top Esports was in the group. I'm like, you're saying anyone but Top. I'm like, wait a minute, Top's not in this group. Though.
Like if they would have got DRX, Gen G, FlyQuest, Suning, Team Liquid,
TSM.
like any of TSM, if they would have got any of those,
TSM
win.
versus Rogue.
They beat
if
all of those teams, in my opinion.
if Rogue was in Group C,
Yes.
and them and Fnatic were swapped, essentially.
Well, I would have them topping Group C. And
yeah, I mean, I actually kind of I told that to Raptor. It's like Group C is kind of a jumbled mess, but it's like but if you just changed Fnatic and Rogue out right now, I'd have Rogue. It's like, okay, well, there you go. Rogue's number one. Rogue's the best in this group.
Yeah, exactly.
All the faith.
I agree.
Which is wrong for me. Which is wrong for me to say, because apparently I'm like the death knell to anybody. I put my faith. This is why I was like, well, here comes North America. They're about ready to just take the fattest dump on the bed at Worlds.
After you brought up all
because I'm like, oh man, I really hope NA does well. It'd be really cool if it happens. It'd be really cool if the PCS to show up and they take some games off teams. They play upset. They hold on to their 2 spots at Worlds. So like, no, next year it's like NA gets 1 spot. PCS gets 1 spot.
Oh, well,
Vietnam gets 3. Vietnam gets 3. Vietnam gets 3, even though they didn't show up at Worlds.
I really do think PSG is going to go 0-6. I don't think Tank and River are good players. River is average. Tank is actually a good mid laner. He's legit. He's not Uniboy level, and Tank really isn't, or River really is not Kongu level at all. So the level of play they had in the play-ins is not going to be the same. And then they get the second hardest European team, the hardest Korean team, and depending on how you want to look at it, the second hardest Chinese team. Like, I know top beat them, but it's really basically dead even between those two. And they're all in your same group. It's really unfortunate. And with you downgrading, I don't see them going anywhere past 0-6 in this group.
The only thing I could imagine like this could possibly work out is if River takes a page out of Spica's book and takes the Shen jungle. That way he can literally be River Shen.
River Shen. I kind of want it for the memes because you're not going anywhere anyway. They better do it. All right.
That's kind of the unfortunate thing, but hey, man, maybe they can they can make some some spicy off-season picks. I mean, Kongue and Uniboy really showed up.
Yeah,
and they got PSG. They got PSG directly into groups.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see.
Sorry.
Did
you have a final placement for all of them?
Yes. JDG first, Damwon second, Rogue third, PSG fourth, which is the same as you. So we are currently the same.
Yep. Nothing real different with there.
All right. So my next group is Group C. The group of coin flips is what I want to call this one.
Yeah, I think this is like I think there was like a group where I think it was like the Chinese casters did a bunch of like live predictions for everybody, and like this was like the group where like they had like 4 different casters and all 4 of them had different picks.
It's because
for their top 2.
There's a thing for the way I want to call this group is, I personally believe if I see anyone's predictions for this group 1 through 4. I do not think they're wrong. I know it's opinion based, so they shouldn't be wrong anyway. But I do not consider
they're
them
wrong. But here's why I'm right.
There's a difference. If you have PSG going 6-0 in Group B, you're wrong. like it's an opinion, sure, but it's a wrong opinion.
It's like I have to ask you where you're from and why you're such a Taiwan homer.
Yeah, exactly. But that though with Group C. I can see you having TSM first, Fnatic second, Gen.G first, LGD second, Fnatic third, TSM fourth. Doesn't matter what you pick. Everyone is right.
But what about LGD? LGD first.
It's still possible. They went 6-0 and looked like they stepped up. I really think LGD could be
last.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. It's gonna be 2018.
It could happen.
It's gonna be the C9 RNG group again. It's gonna be China number 1, NA number 2, Europe number 3, and Korea number 4.
Absolutely could happen in this group.
And is Gen.G falling out of groups again?
They
suck.
I legitimately want to see this group essentially go 3-3-3-3. Like I want to do it again.
Why would you wish that? Why would you wish that on us?
Why
would you want?
Because of the
spiciness. Want more TSM games?
Because of the
you would want more TSM games. You want more Fnatic games.
Yes,
I want LGD games.
I want the spice. It's the chaos of this group.
There's different kinds of way you can have spice, man.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's like I'm gonna dip this habanero in a ghost pepper sauce. And then instead of eating it, I'm gonna stick it right up my ass. There's a different way to get your spice, dude.
There is, but don't you want a crazy four-way tie for groups? This is the group
No,
to get that.
no, I don't
I do.
want it.
I do. I want
I
it.
don't want a four-way tie. That's the thing. I want a four-way tie in Group B. If I'm going to want some spice, I want Rogue going 6-0. 6-0. And Damn Juan, and San Juan is 0-6. And they crash at Worlds again.
Oh man.
Like, that's some spice. I want to see that. I want to see Maki go number 1. Number 1 and TL number 2.
Oh my god, if G2 and Suning get eliminated, that'd be insane. But Group C.
Yeah, let's go Unicorns of Love and FlyQuest. Let's get them out of groups. I want to see that.
I don't know how to explain Group C outside of purely just saying it's gonna be a hell of a fight.
Yeah,
it's gonna be
literally for anyone who's not familiar with these teams. You have the number 1 team from North America, TSM. You have the number 3 team in Fnatic, who are two of the most historical Western teams in the history of the game. They've been around since the very beginning, and they've never played each other at Worlds. This is the first time ever. You also have LGD, who is the Chinese team in the play-in stage that we mentioned, who is the 4th seed from China, and then you have Gen G, who is a former championship organization. They won the championship in 2017 as Samsung Galaxy. They rebranded. They are the 3rd seed coming from Korea.
And so we have...
And the one thing that ties all these teams together, they're all inconsistent and unproven as shit.
Yep. To put it for an example, my team power rankings, I have Gen G 7th. This was before Worlds, by the way. Gen G 7th, LGD 8th, TSM 10th, and Fnatic 11th. They're essentially pretty much equal. They're pretty much all at the same power ranking for me. That being said, my final guess for this group right now is I have Gen G number 1, TSM 2, Fnatic 3, LGD 4. It's kind of where I have it right now. And
tell them where I have mine, Will.
Well, let me explain mine real quick, and then I will.
No.
I think Gen G is
just leave it at that.
No, I think they're just ever so slightly. They have that 55% edge to 45 over the rest of the teams. TSM 2 is bold. I get it. I feel like they have the better bot lane. It really is just the bot lane at this point. I think.
But why?
But Ruler in life.
The bot lane has not mattered. Ironically, the TSM bot lane has not mattered at all.
That's true.
Even in playoffs, when they won their first title in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
They did something that I never thought possible with a double lift team, and they did not play the bot lane.
Yeah, and and double lift has been doing much better at playing weak side than it was at the beginning of the season. And the issue I have with Gen G. First off, Gen G. GA's looked really bad for LGD. Fnatic has Nemesis. And then TSM has Bjergsen. Gen G is BDD. I think he's the best mid laner of the group. I don't have actually any of them in the top 20. BDD was probably 21. but he was the big cut on my list. But I think
he barely made money.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly where I had him.
I right now I have Gen G.
I had him 13, but I think he was in that huge clump of
huge clump of players
from
there.
From 13 to 19, where I literally kept swapping them all around.
No, Raptor, I do not put Biofrost and Double Lift over Reckless. I actually think Reckless is the better weak side ADC because he's been doing it forever. That being said, I think
he's the best weak side support ADC.
That being said,
playing Karma
at the moment, I do put Bwipo, or not Bwip. I put BB on the same as Bwipo in the sense that I think Bwipo's slightly better, but BB is more consistent. If that makes sense. Selfmade has a clear advantage over Spica, in my opinion. I think Biofrost over Hylissang is fair to say. Hylissang is not really good all year.
That's the thing. I would put Reckless over Double Lift, but I think the level of Reckless over Double Lift does not equal the level of Biofrost over Hylissang. In terms of Reckless and Double Lift, the difference in their highs is not equal. Is not as bad as the difference between Biofrost and Hylissang's lows.
Let me clarify, Raptor. I did not say for the group. I said for Gen G getting first was their bot lane because I
Yeah,
think Ruler and Life are so much above everyone else.
and I know that we've had this discussion too. That's literally it's the ruler show.
It is the Ruler
The
show.
ruler. It is the ruler show, and everyone else is a fucking passenger. BD can do some things. Clid can do some things. At the end of the day, it's what ruler can do.
Yes.
And if Twitch is in the meta, ruler might be able to do some things.
Do some big things. He has a skin for.
This is the analysis you guys tune in for. Ruler will do things.
He has skin for Zion.
Genji will win.
But Fnatic, the reason why, the big one here, who cares about Gen G first? The big one of having TSM over Fnatic is mid-gap for me. I think Bjergsen's playing one of his best seasons of all time, and Nemesis is playing his worst season of all time, and he's super passive about it. Like, really, really passive. I think that difference in mid, I think both bot lane, I think, like I said, Biofrost better than Hylissang, Reckless better than Doublelift, but I think they equal out. And I really don't think either of them push a huge advantage on the other one. I think they both play weak side, they both chill, they both farm, nothing happens. It's like the AFK top lane. Bwipo and Broken Blade is going to be very spicy with a lot of kills, I think, up top. And then if Selfmade can get Bwipo going, I think that's the win condition for Fnatic. The win condition on the other hand, for TSM is for Spica to get Bjergsen going, but I don't even think Bjergsen needs Spica to get going. I really think if Selfmade would have to only play top, because I think Spica only has to play top, personally. I think, like I said, bot lane's going to be dead even, which is boring farming, where Bjergsen's going to be stomping Nemesis and Selfmade's going to have to come over to help it, where if Bjergsen can force that over, then Spica can force over with Broken Blade in the top side and really push the advantage there. And I think that's how TSM beats Fnatic, personally.
I would also put forward the point of saying, I think it comes down to that a battle between these two teams is not going to come down to anywhere, or a difference between two different teams. There's going to be difference on both sides, Selfmade, Spica, Bjergsen, Nemesis, whatever. At the end of the day, I think it's going to come down to draft, and it's going to come down to team play. And that's the one thing I will say about TSM. They cleaned the fuck out of their drafts over the course of summer and going into playoffs. I feel like they had a much better read on the meta. They picked it up a lot faster than a lot of teams in NA, and that's what got them into another title. And I think that their team play as well, like you're talking about, like Doublelift, like being a much more weak side focused player, like being willing to take that up. Like we're talking about, like this is a team that now it feels like they're actually just gelling as a full 5-man roster. Like everyone knows the role that they have to play. I feel like egos have kind of been set aside, and everyone knows what to do. At the end of the day, it's just kind of like just get on Bjergsen's backpack and he'll carry you, and then everyone on the team plays their role. Like Bjergsen, Spica, tag team, but Doublelift, Biofrost hang out, throw everything top lane, get Broken Blade ahead, snowball that, move that into a team fight advantage. Everyone plays a 5v5 team fight correctly. And Fnatic, on the other hand, it feels like half the time it's either if the early game does not get going well with a good matchup between Selfmade and Nemesis, if they do not get proper draft weapons, if Whippo plays another fucking AP Cho'Gath game, I'm gonna kill myself.
This is why I hate Fnatic. It's just Whippo's AP Cho'Gath.
But it's one of those things where it's like half the time this team just feels so disjointed a lot of times. And like the only times it works are when Nemesis is literally like I'm gonna play on Lucian, and Selfmade is gonna play on Evelynn. And this is what we're gonna do. We're just gonna have Prio just based on early game champion picks and basically based on nothing on our individual skill. And Selfmade with that priority is just gonna run over the map. And as soon as that doesn't happen, the team just looks like they have no idea how to play. Now, obviously, maybe they fix that in boot camp, or maybe we just see the Mad Lions.
Yeah, and I think I do have LGD fourth, and I think I'm still not impressed with LGD. I know they cleaned up and they went 3-0-3-0, But again, they should have done that forever ago. Like, they really should have been way better than these playing teams by the way they looked. And they didn't look clean, like you said, against Rainbow Seven. They looked okay against Legacy. They did dominate two of them, but like they had a game in there that they looked okay in. Legacy was ranked 21st out of 22 teams in our power rankings. You're the number 8 team. You need to step it up way better. You need to do what Team Liquid did to Legacy every game. Where Legacy or Team Liquid won almost the fastest games against the tiebreaker. And the first game was a blowout too. That's what I expected, and I didn't get that. So I really think they're going to get exposed. I think GA is going to be beaten especially by by BDD and Bjergsen. I think that Peanut is going to get destroyed to Selfmade. Clayton, even I think he might struggle against Spica. If he's struggling against wildcard junglers, he's really going to struggle against main region junglers. But
not to mention, I feel like LGD is being exposed more and more as a team that's entirely based on their own picks. Like as soon as Kramer is off of a pick like Jin, or if Peanut is not on a champion like Kindred, the team just kind of looks, it looks like this team just doesn't operate as well either. They operate in a very similar way to almost like how Suning is, which kind of makes sense that they're kind of roughly in a similar spot in terms of my tier rankings. It's just the idea that Suning is probably a bit more consistent. LGD arguably has higher highs,
6-0 them.
But it's the idea that they just feel like, ironically, they just feel very limited in what they're able to play, and anything else, and off of anything else, a lot of times it just doesn't look like nearly the same level as their highs.
Now, if they step back up to their highs, they can easily get through this group as well. Like, it wouldn't surprise me to any extent if I see LGD starting to play good and they get first or second in this group. Well, again, I said nothing will surprise me in this group. I just think that, to me, right now, as I see it, I think TSM, weirdly enough, makes it out. But that's not... Let's talk about Ryan. We haven't talked about Ryan's predictions. I have Genji, TSM, Fnatic, LGD. Clip this real quick, Raptor. Ryan has TSM number 1. Genji number 2, Fnatic number 3, LGD number 4. So we both have Fnatic and LGD getting eliminated as of week or right before play or groups.
Yep. You want to know why?
Yes, explain why.
Same reason that I think like Team Liquid is going to get out as number 2 in the group. I feel like everyone else is going to beat up on each other, and TSM is just going to be that one like some semi-consistent team with good team play that's just going to make it out based on. But because this team, also many of the teams are on the same level, as opposed to like Group A, where you have a team like Maki, who's like in everyone's mindset clearly below a lot of the other teams. They're the team that kind of drops forward, so Team Liquid doesn't get as high as doesn't kind of value off of having that team in the group, so they don't go as high as TSM. Whereas I feel like TSM, it's gonna be like, okay, well, versus Gen G, well, we don't really care about having to play the ruler. Double Lift can kind of just hold the lane, and we'll do everything in our power to just make sure Ruler is a non-factor. And if Ruler is a non-factor, or if he's just not allowed to snowball, or if we make it so the matchup isn't about Ruler versus Double Lift, then Gen G really don't have a win condition. Versus Fnatic, well, we'll just try to do our best to get a good draft and just let Fnatic shoot themselves in the foot. And then LGD, well, kind of basically the same thing, really. Just play consistently. Don't make stupid mistakes. Stay on top of your calls. And LGD can't just do like they did against wildcard teams, where they're just taking advantage of bad calls, poor adaptation, and just sit macro calls. It's one of those things where I feel like Gen G have mechanical enough players where they'll just kind of brute force their way against other teams. And you'll have a team like LGD who, unlike Maki, I think can actually take other teams. Like, they're a team that can go like 2-4, and they can be like the blue shell that knocks a team like Gen G down to second. Now, again, this is me putting Gen G. I was really debating between putting Gen G first, TSM second, TSM first, and Fnatic second. But the more and more I looked at this group and thought about it, the more I thought, I feel like TSM just makes it out. I feel like they're not going to... I feel like they just... Like, unless Spica just literally just freezes up, and Broxa actually stole all of his power from playoffs, and that's why he's good now. and we just weren't aware. Like, he's like a talent vampire behind the scenes. Like the freaking ball from Space Jam. Like, I don't see... I really just don't see how... Like, I don't know. It's just one of the things I just don't see how TSM would do it. I feel like they have enough veteran presence. Even though they haven't been to Worlds for a while, they still have players like Bjergsen, like Double Lift, even like Biofrost. and people who are going to be genuinely hungry, and they're going to be working to desperately get themselves to a point where they can get out. They're going to see this group as an opportunity for them to finally break the curse and get out of groups. And I think they will. They're the least volatile team of 4 volatile teams.
And yeah, like I said, if Genji Raptor says Genji's not getting out, totally fair opinion. Like I said with Group C.
Oh yeah.
Whatever you say about Group C, you can be right. This group is so. If we sound confident, sure, maybe that's what we came to at the end of the day. We could be completely wrong about this, and it could easily be Fnatic LGD coming out of this group right now at 1-2.
Like literally what I said is like, oh, well, Gen G, maybe they can brute force their way to first, or maybe TSM will be second in that case, or maybe TSM will be first, and Fnatic will just knock Gen G out because Gen G is actually not that good, or maybe I even considered possibly having like Gen G last place and having LGD and Fnatic fighting second to get out of group, just because I guess that's kind of where I think it is, but it's just it all came down to eventually in the end I'm like. Well, again, I just feel like TSM. I feel like they just have a much more firm grasp on the meta and a much better team cohesion compared to these other teams. The closest in that case would be Gen G, but I feel like Gen G are so limited and so poor and lackadaisical in their draft and in their play calls, and I feel like a team like TSM can actually take advantage of that.
I mean, I'm pretty. We have the same team, just in a different order. But that's our only difference so far in the first 3 groups, which is kind of funny. Is we have everyone going out at the same, but you have Gen G going second. I have TSM first. Now let's talk about Group D. Group D is
open and shut.
No, it's not open and shut. No.
Yes, it is.
Everyone thinks it's top and DRX is coming out, but I am here to disagree.
Who's saying that? Sounds like a bunch of wrong people.
I think that DRX top, yes, 6-0. 6-0 in this group for top, absolutely, in my opinion.
Oh no. Here comes the Fun Plus Phoenix.
Fun Plus Phoenix going undefeated in
Worlds. They're almost out.
I won't say Top's going undefeated at Worlds this year, not because I learned my lesson with Fun Plus Phoenix, because I've seen Top play JDG, and if Damwon can play at that level, holy shit, there's a lot of tough teams. And then that's not to mention G2 stepping up in a best of 5 as well. It's gonna be tough. But okay, so. My final thing. Top's going 6-0 in my opinion in this group. DRX is significantly weaker than what they're made out to be. Significantly. I really think that
if Gen G is the ruler show, DRX is the Chovy show.
Yes, absolutely. And DRX has Doran top lane. Arguably the second weakest here. I think Solo's probably better than him, and I know for sure 369's way better than him. And then Boss has played pretty well, but like I don't want to put him behind Boss per se because it's a wildcard region.
Boss.
Pyosik probably on the same level as Anonasik with how well we saw Anonasik play.
They almost rhyme, so it makes sense.
Yeah, you got Santorin, who I think is better in Pyosik. And you have Karsa, who's definitely better in Pyosik. That's all of a sudden in this great team, the second place Korean team, has the top side of their map, or at least the top and jungle side, worse than almost every other team, including the wildcard team in this group. They do have Chovy.
Let's talk about
that is their saving grace. He's not the best mid laner in this group.
Yeah.
This group
still have a player like Knight,
and
then and here's the thing, I know I'm get crucified for even making this comparison, I'm sure, but Chovy is a great player, but Power of Evil is still not a slouch. He's not bad. No. He's not the kind of player that's just gonna get abused in lane by a player like Chovy.
And
if anything, just having a stable presence in mid against a player like Chovy, it's a huge fucking bit.
I will not crucify you for that, because I brought that point up when Group D, when we assumed Mad Lions was going to be here. I said FlyQuest has a better chance against DRX than Mad Lions. Clearly right, since Mad Lions are out, but I thought they 100% chance. I am right now.
They can't lose to DRX now.
Exactly, but
they're swimming home.
I said it because Humanoid, who did play well, I thought, is super aggressive, and Chovy can punish that by just being flat out better. Power of Evil is always going to lose gracefully. He's probably going to lose lane every time to Chovy, but he's not going to die 3 times doing it, in my opinion. He's going to be very passive about it.
And even then, knowing Power of Evil style, he'll probably still like be like even in CS.
Yeah, he won't be that far behind. It'll be like losing lane as losing pressure, and Chovy's may be able to roam a little bit more than him, but I don't think he's going to lose that hard.
Yeah. Not to mention, I remember once upon a time, 2018, there was a double European duo on an NA team. They beat the living shit out of a Korean mid laner who was a previous world champion. Anyone remember that?
No.
Remember Svenskeren and Jensen destroying Crown on Gen G? It's possible that if Santorin and Power of Evil played to it, they could just crush Chovy. Mm-hmm. And if they crush Chovy in a 2v1 scenario, and Piosik is the other side, like you're talking about, that's possibly an even 2v2 matchup.
Yes.
And if Chovy gets set behind against a team like FlyQuest, like it could actually just be over.
Yes, because
their win condition is their win condition. That's been their win conditioning in so many teams. Is literally they lose and lose and lose, and then Chovy 1v9s a team fight, and they somehow pull it back and win.
Yes. Now they do have the exception of Deft has been hurt. If he is healed and playing better and playing at Deft level, all of a sudden, yes, buy into this DRX hype. Because if they have Deft and Chovy playing at top levels, this team is really scary even with that weak side of top. They're not at the S tier that JDG, Damwon, and Top are at, but I would put them at the same level as like your G2, your Suning, like those type of teams. I even below those teams right now.
It would be my A tier, but you're, I guess, A tier.
Yeah,
it'd still be A tier.
Yeah, they would be the A tier team. Like right now, I do have them as an A tier team, but they're towards the very bottom of the A tier with Gen G.
See, this is where my tier rankings are superior because that G2 is my only A tier team, so it would just be DRX is an A tier team.
But like that is only if Def shows up. He is injured as well, so if he doesn't recover from that injury and is still playing like the same level, you can't expect your bot lane to do that much against Ignar and Wild Turtle, who have been playing really good. Hell, Gadget and Santos has been phenomenal, and they have such
Santos.
What did I say? Yeah. So, but like they've been really, really good in the bot lane, which they were the weakness of Vega Squadron back in the day. That's why they got kicked off the team for Inax and Edward at the time, and then they rejoined the team and look so much better than they did at previous MSI. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think, especially with it's risky. I don't know what to do. Is Chovy enough? Is basically the question for DRX to get out of group.
Is Chovy enough? It's one of those things that it's like, it's funny that we're having this kind of conversation about Chovy and Knights in the same group.
Yes.
Like this has been Knights' existence for like the past like 2 years now. And you finally have a team. It can make worlds.
With that being said, I personally think Chovy will be just enough to barely get this team out, possibly through tiebreaker. But I will have my number 2. I will have Unicorns of Love as the number 3 team though. Because I'm
tiebreakers with unicorns.
Tiebreaker with unicorns to get into quarters. That's how far I think unicorns will make it, and I might be hyping them up a bit because
you should just pick unicorns second, man. Why you gotta leave the spice out?
No,
you talk about how you want spice, but you ain't gonna put unicorns in second.
That's fair. That is fair.
You're not gonna believe in the boss.
Also trying to still make sure I try to make my group perfect.
You think that Gadget is not going to be like the one player that can take advantage even of a healthy Deft? Come out there with some Orianna bot lane.
That's the thing. Well, that's the thing.
Doesn't matter if you're healthy Deft. You never played against this.
We will talk about this during the games per se themselves.
And then Wild Turtle breaks out the Yasuo.
I think Unicorns of Love. The issue for FlyQuest is that Mad Lions played sloppy quick game. Unicorns Love play a very fast quick game. Reminder that FlyQuest really, really sucked against C9 until playoffs because of how fast they got outmatched towards the game, and they just couldn't get it together quick enough for their team fighting style. Unicorns of Love.
Hey man, I thought we were gonna talk about C9.
Fair. But
if we're going to talk about them, let's talk about the last time C9 and FlyQuest played each other.
Yes, but C9 also looks like Mad Lions. they looked like how Mad Lions looked in just sloppy jungle play that kind of screwed everyone else over. Where I think Unicorns Love are really clean, like just clean play. They have a completely, you can't ban them out because like you mentioned, they have Orianna and Swain. Like, are you gonna ban those out and keep the ADCs open for Gadget? Like,
No, they'll just leave Swain open, and then Power of Evil will take it. Obviously,
that's fair that Power Real could take it, but if unless Unicorns Love take it first,
then Wild Turtle will take Yasuo.
that would actually be kind of
Yasuo
cool.
into Orianna.
So I do think
just throw the wind wall up at the ball.
I do think Unicorns of Love are going to be too quick and actually hurt FlyQuest. Where I think that DRX, by the skin of the team, I'm talking 3-3 in this group for DRX, with possibly 3-3 with Unicorns of Love as well. They win a tiebreaker off Chovy 1v9ing at the end of the day and saving Korea's ass. Kinda.
Here's one thing I'll say though, as argument to that point. Do you think that Unicorns of Love right now are equivalent to peak C9?
Peak C9? No.
Yeah, peak or even close to peak C9.
They're not there, but I think they're relatively close. I really think they're good.
Because here's the thing, I don't. And I think that was the only reason that you could ever make an argument a C9 over FlyQuest. Is literally just because that peak C9, like operating on all cylinders, was a fucking an obscene beast. Like just a pure efficient killing machine on the. That's what stopped FlyQuest. But FlyQuest in playoffs showed like a huge amount of game planning, and they've had weeks to game plan now against a very specific group of teams that they know who they have to beat. Like the closest one they just figured out was Unicorns, but they still have like almost a full week to prepare for them. And Unicorns, they've been stuck having to prepare for play-ins teams, for best of fives, and now for the other two teams in the group, even besides FlyQuest. FlyQuest has just had a chance to just practice and game plan and strategize. That has been their go-to. They did that for basically an entire summer split after going 7-0 against C9, refused to scrim them, and then got into playoffs and basically 3-0'd them. It was a 3-1, but even that game 2 was a sloppy mess. So it's one of the things where I feel like FlyQuest do have an upside, at the very least, over a team like Unicorns.
Okay.
And I think their team play as well is really solid. It's one of those things where Unicorns at times have kind of struggled a little bit in translating their mid game to a close. And FlyQuest is a team that will definitely can actually like capitalize on that.
That is true, because I think Unicorns Love never had a mid game throughout the season because the game ended so early every time.
Yeah. And FlyQuest, like, I mean, think about a team like Golden Guardians, who were considered like, oh, they're C9 light. They're super aggressive, strong early game team that can just snowball and just destroy you in team fights based on a gold difference, specking you with their wallets, and even coming out with some interesting drafts as well. No, FlyQuest actually could handle them some of the time. They're like the one team that actually had a good counter against them. And it's because they were like the quote-unquote because they were a quote lesser C9, FlyQuest had a chance against them. It was only the real C9 that had a chance against them because they were that step above. So if Unicorns of Love is that step below C9, like Golden Guardians was, FlyQuest probably would just have a better chance just based on matchup and style. And I think that FlyQuest that we saw in regular season is way worse than the FlyQuest we saw in playoffs, the one that ended up making finals.
True. That
which I guess would lead into who I predicted for this group.
Yeah, let's go over Ryan's predictions for this group. Are top esports number 1 6-0?
6-0, yeah.
I haven't said that for anyone else, but I just,
yeah.
FlyQuest number 2 getting out, and then DRX 3 and Unicorns of Love 4.
So, I feel like 3 and 4 is also going to be another case of group C scenario where I think the fourth team, unlike Maki and PSG Talon, the fourth team I feel like is a scrappy team, and it's a team that I could see.
Did Brian just disconnect in the middle of his thing? I think he might have. Oh no, it was all the spice. I wanted to say it. Well, when we get him back, I just want to say Ryan's predictions right now, just so you know. I'll pull them up here so you can screenshot them. First, take mine, Raptor, if you want to clip and meme. I have EU getting one team out with G2, the only team of EU coming out of groups. China is getting 2 teams out with JDG and top. Korea is getting all 3 teams out, weirdly enough, with Damwon, Genji, and DRX, while NA is getting 2 teams out with Team Liquid and TSM. Welcome back, Ryan. Let me just mention real quick for you.
It was going so well.
It was going so well.
I don't know where I cut off because it kind of just you just kind of stopped responding. It's like, it must have cut off on me again.
All good. I just want to mention that Ryan has 1 team from EU going out, 2 teams from
But they
China.
are going out number 1. They are number 1.
Yeah, they are. 2 teams from China, both number 1. 2 teams from Korea, both at number 2. And all 3 teams from NA. You are saying NA is bringing the most teams out of Worlds.
It'd be hilarious. I just want to imagine that the one year that C9 doesn't go to Worlds, all the NA teams make it out.
That would be spicy. That would be quite spicy.
It'd be funny. Hey man, don't say I'm simping, man. Freaking Jack, the C9 owner, he literally showed his pickups. He had all the NA teams number 1.
Number 1, just
number 1. FlyQuest over Top Esports.
Hell yeah, yeah. Like, even my thing is, if I already feel like I'm bold having 2 NA teams come out, I feel like having Team Liquid and TSM, I don't. So I'm looking at these best of 1s or best of 5s. Team Liquid would have to face JDG, Gen G, or top. Team Liquid gets Gen G. I see a possible win there. Possible win for Team Liquid in the semis. TSM, I'd have to go against either G2, JDG, or top. It's over. It's out of quarters. The scary thing would be of everyone actually would be if Damwon, whoever of the 1 seeds gets Damwon, rest in peace. Like, oh man, that's a brutal 2 seed to pick. The only team that can't get that would be JDG, if my predictions are correct. So, well, that being said, did you have any other points that you want to bring up, Ryan?
Oh, I did want to make up 1 point because it was something that kind of came up when you were mentioning Deft. Because I actually was not aware of Deft being injured.
Yes.
Which would explain a lot about his play, which was very disappointing. But having that in hindsight, it actually makes a lot of sense. But one thing I will mention is a relative turn going back into Group B about Damwon with Nuguri. Nuguri was their top laner, who was arguably one of their star players even last year before the team really blew up and became a huge success in Korea. But Nuguri was recently hospitalized with, I believe it was a collapsed lung, pneumothorax, and he had to go through treatment to actually resuscitate him. So he was actually been injured. I believe he couldn't even join up with the team for boot camp initially for a little while. So that could actually be, well, first of all, hopefully he's recovering well, just in terms of just as the player, as a person. But because I know that's horrible. It's got to be scary as well for a player, but hopefully he's recovering well. But also, that could actually influence a lot for this team as well, because Nuguri was one of those kind of almost like a whip, like the final form of Whippo, I would say. He's very much a player that can he can have some high highs, some pretty good carry games, but there are times where he maybe goes a little too hard, a little too aggressive, too many times, or makes a goof or an oopsie in the lane. And
what would you call the shy? What would you call the shy?
What do I call what? What would I call the shy? Shy is in his own category, man. The shy is the shy. Except for when he's the shy, then he's still the shy.
He's the 1 in 10 Kennen player.
He's like the 1 in 10 Kennen, but he's also the 10 in 1 Kennen.
Yeah, he's 1 in 10 Kennen, also with the most damage in the game.
Yeah, he's the 1 in 10 cannon that's like building for his power spike to counter the 1 in 10 Yasuo.
Yeah. But yeah.
But yeah, I will say like Nuguri, he's actually kind of been like a linchpin in that top lane for how Diamond like to play. They obviously, like I said, they've had really, and it's the bot lane has stepped up a lot. Mid jungle has been really good, and it's one of those things where Nuguri has kind of been like one of the least good performing players on Damwon, and depending on his condition, um, they could be influenced a lot more than usual as well, depending on his condition. Like he might, like a player like Finn might actually not get punished as much. Give us some hope to Europe.
Maybe. I don't want to. Well, after what I saw what Arome did against wildcard top laners, losing to Arma, who, by the way, was not even the star of Supermassive. He was the weak side player for Supermassive this year, and the fact that he popped off the way he did was awesome to see. Losing to Tay, which, like, we saw Tay's high highs and low lows. Like,
Tay, literally his high highs and his low lows within a span of 3 seconds.
Yeah, pretty much. If Arome is doing that bad, I had Arome ahead of Finn, barely, but like just right there. And Finn has to face Nogri if he's recovered, like you said, and Zoom. Yeah.
And Hanabi.
On Hanabi, who I did have ranked higher than Finn coming into this. He did not actually look great.
Yeah.
For PSG.
He was fine.
He was fine. He didn't look like his.
But it's like I mean if you're comparing it to fucking Kongyue and Uniboy,
that's true.
Yeah, of course he's not gonna look as good. But I think the entire top side for PSG looked really solid.
Yeah.
And Kaiwing was a beast.
If
D and Unify just kind of look the same.
And Unify's really like the best player on PSG. Funny enough, like normally.
They literally looked like there was no difference. You could have told me they just decided to keep D in, and I would have believed you. The team did not look any different.
Yeah, but I think that. Anything else, or is that it?
No, I mean I think that's pretty much it. I think we got a decent amount of spice. I mean, it's no unicorns, FlyQuest topping group and then tie breaking at 4-2 for first place or anything. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see how everything pans out with these groups. They do start up in, it's almost hey, we actually
one
finished
day
before midnight my time, which is good.
1 day, 2 hours, and 41 minutes.
I think it's just like one. It's like 1 day for Raptor though.
Yeah, because Raptor has the best time in the world.
Yeah, he can just wake up, first thing in the morning, just wake up and unwind with some League of Legends.
I hate you. We could too if we woke up at 4 in the morning.
Yeah. Oh my god, we got to do this again next year too, because China's going to be in China. The Worlds are going to be in China, so China's going to be in Worlds again.
Fuck you, Raptor.
China, China's going to be in Worlds again. They're probably going to win They're probably going to win a title. I would hope they're in Worlds again.
Raptor gets it 10 a.m. for first game. Oh man!
But hey, man, in 2022, they're probably gonna have it in LA.
They are, and hopefully coronavirus is solved by then. Should be. Right?
I would hope so.
It should be.
I'll keep my fingers crossed, and I'll knock on some wood later.
Yeah, because I really still want my goal that was supposed to be next year, but it gives me an extra year to still go to every Worlds game if I can. That would be a lot of money.
Oh my god!
I still want that.
Dude, imagine it. Dude, I remember the last time they did Worlds in America. When
I wasn't a fan. I wasn't watching League.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I remember I think it was 2016. I want to say it was.
Oh, I watched the finals. That was the first ever professional game I watched.
Oh, dude, I remember it was like the opening. It was like the opening day quarterfinals. It was Samsung and C9 quarterfinals, and everyone was like so pro USA chanting for C9, and then they just got 3-0'd him. The crowd was so quiet. It was so sad. It was so sad. And of course, C9 was obviously the only NA team that made it out of groups that year, so they were the last NA team. They were out the first day of knockout. Feels bad, but yeah, I will say, I was just saying, just based on that, I think it'd be kind of interesting if they did like what they did that year, where they had different stages of Worlds in different cities. Like I think they had one, I think it was in New York. They had another one in Chicago, and then they had like the finals and knockout stage, finals of knockouts LA.
Yeah, that's what I'd love, because then I'd take like a month vacation. I'd have to try and figure something out, but just because I don't take many vacation days at all, but I'd take like a full month of vacation to go to every game. Even if I had to like go back home, maybe work a week, but like go back out on the weekend level, like for quarters and stuff.
Stockpile your days off for 2 years.
Yeah, you want to know? Guess how many days off I get per year?
How many?
0, because I'm a contract worker.
0.
So,
oh, that's right.
So I get.
I'm trying to think how many I get. I think I think they slowly increase how many like hours. It's quote unquote hours you get off.
Yes.
For me, because it's like it's like 8 hours
my friend
a day.
Gets 6 weeks off of hours, like, but it turns out 6 weeks total. Works out quick as loans. I'm kind of jealous.
Yeah, but see the difference with that is the fact that I can't for my job I can't take weekends off.
Yeah. Oh.
It sucks.
Yeah.
So it's so it's like I can because it's just the nature of healthcare and I have to work every other weekend. So even if I put in vacation, it'd be like some weird hiccup and someone else had to work the time. They wouldn't necessarily approve it, so it'd be kind of weird. Gotcha. I might have to discuss it with them though, because that'd be kind of awesome if I could go freaking like I could fly out and at least catch a.
It was almost like
a World's Day.
My idea was, if for very worst, I know we're just rambling now, but would be go to all the play-ins to see my wildcard babies. Go to like take that full week off. Take that full week off. Take the full week off for groups, and then after groups, when the quarters and stuff are usually played on the weekend, maybe only take the weekends off as well, and then just fly out. But it would be kind of cool to experience the cities and stuff like that as well. But who knows?
Yeah. I think that's one of the ones where you save up your vacation days, but you also save up a bunch of money because it's gonna be expensive.
It would be super expensive.
Triple on round trip is gonna be kind of rough. Then you'd also talk about like room board, and then if you're buying stuff from stands, and touristy shit. That's gonna be you're gonna be out some money.
Yeah, because it like look at this. Groups is like I would take like if it was this year. Let's see if it was this year. I would take it would be at a normal time, so it'd be on a Saturday at a normal time, so I wouldn't have to fly out like that Friday. Or I could fly out Friday after work, and then I would take Monday through. So I would take basically the 5th through the 9th off, and then I would get back to work here the 12th. Then I would only work for 3 days, fly out Wednesday to the next city, and then go back to work, and then fly out that Friday. So I really would only be missing. I would really only need 7 days off, hypothetically, if this was in America. Obviously, I don't know the schedule for 2 years from now, but if it was in America, I would really only need 7 days off. So that's totally manageable, I think.
Oh, dude, but here's the thing, though. Imagine if they just have Worlds in Detroit.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, they held the LCS finals here, so that would be really nice because that would
just drive to Detroit.
Save a lot more money. Save a lot more money there.
Or if they just held Worlds in Virginia, I could just you could go to the Coliseum, or I could go over to Richmond. It's like a 2 or 3 hour drive for me.
Yeah, I think it would be
pretty sick. Oh, if they held it in DC.
DC's impossible.
They just had worlds in the capital. But that's the thing. I don't know if DC has like any real big like.
Yeah. Did Capitals play there? Capitals play?
I have no idea. I'll be perfectly honest. It's like asking me where the freaking Wizards play. I don't know where the hell the Wizards play. The Wizards suck.
Oh man. All right, though. I think. Oh, yeah. After rambling there for a bit, that would be some excitement.
It's like asking where the Washington football team plays. Because they don't play in Washington.
I love it. All right. Let's wrap this up. Thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate it. Our group's pretty spicy. Do you think we're gonna be wrong? Let me put them up real quick together. Obviously, Raptor does, and Ryan apparently does as well. Here. Ryan's is on the left. Mine is
I think both of our groups are going to be.
Funny enough, Group A and Group B, me and Ryan have the same. Group C is basically the same to a degree. It's since you have the only difference is you have Gen G second and I have TSM second, and you have the other one first. Or we both have the other one first.
Basically, you and I have. I think you have like yours and I are like completely swapped. for D.
Yeah, Group
D is literally like top esports, and then it's a shuffle.
Yeah, we don't have the second through fourth. We have mixed around here. Or second, third, and fourth are all actually mixed, but we agree top is 6.
Fly in last place. I
do.
You're killing FlyQuest early. You're killing World's Quest so early.
I know. I'm sorry.
They gotta get to finals. They gotta get to finals and play G2.
Don't tell my friend Michelle about it because she's real.
It's a whole new world.
She'll kill me if she realizes I put him in fourth, especially below a wildcard team. All right, that should be all though. Thank you guys for coming to watch, and we will see you next Wednesday because that's the break in between the teams the first best
in the teams.
The first round robin and the second round robin. There's no games on that Wednesday. All right. Good night.
Good night.
Brief ending.